GT World Challenge Europe, powered by AWS. Sprint Cup is on its travels once again from Brands Hatch to Zandvoort, another old school circuit. And here in the Dutch seaside dunes, action is going to be absolutely frantic with a bumper 41 strong entry, the first appearance of the year of the Bronze Cup as well, and that is going to be another intense fight. Just 2 weeks after Brands Hatch, the teams have been hard at work and getting ready for a circuit with its own really individual style of challenges, especially given how close you are to the beach and any wind can bring sand onto the circuit, making setup a real challenge. GT World Challenge Europe sits alongside World Challenge America, Australia and Asia, where manufacturers score points in a global competition. In Asia, there have been 2 wins for Porsche and 1 for Chevrolet before the second race in Mandalika, and that turned out to be another Porsche victory as Weilu and Alessio Picariello stormed their way to the front and were able to hang on to victory, which was a real boost for Porsche in those global manufacturer rankings. Happy Porsche drivers in GT World Challenge Asia, not quite so happy in America. We were racing overnight in Sebring, and that turned out to be a victory for BMW as Connor De Filippi and Kenton Koch came through all of the drama to give BMW victory. It was a dramatic race, that's for sure, but the BMW was able to hang on and come through victorious. Further back, there was Audi, there was Mercedes, there was McLaren, all squabbling for the minor placings along with Chevrolet. But BMW boomed through to take the win. Connor De Filippi and Kenton Koch victorious at Sebring. So, you take Europe, you take America, you take Australia and Asia together, and Mercedes-AMG leads that manufacturer ranking ahead of BMW M, Porsche third from Ferrari, and fifth, it's Audi. This weekend at Zandvoort, though, GT World Challenge Europe takes centre stage, and in a very competitive pro class, there is going to be action all the way. Lucas Auer and Maro Engel come here having been the race winners last time out at Brands Hatch in race 2, and the reigning champions are looking to add to their points tally this weekend. It's a circuit they both know well, and around which the Mercedes goes well.
Winning in Brands Hatch round 1 was amazing, the perfect start. And now here in Zandvoort, history says Mercedes-AMG is good here, but every year the cars are new. But it's a really cool old-style track, very tough with the wind, with the sand. So I'm really looking forward to tomorrow, and let's see if we can keep it up.
Another race winner at Brands Hatch was Vincent Abril, the Monegasque driver, making a welcome return to the top step of the podium. Whether or not Zandvoort is a Ferrari circuit, time will tell.
So obviously Brands Hatch was a great start of the year in sprint. We knew coming in Brands Hatch it was going to be very hectic because everything is thrown at you very quickly. The schedule is very tight. The sessions are one after the other, so you need to be switched on, let's say, quite early. But yeah, a win to beginning the year was an amazing achievement. I say as a team we haven't done sprint in a while actually, and to come out and deliver, it means we did a good job during the winter. Still a few things to perfect because, you know, in race 2 we could have got a bit more points and we still we struggled a bit there, so we've regrouped and analyzed a lot of things, and now we're ready and charged up for Zandvoort, which is one of the best tracks for me in Europe, I think. Great history for me there, always had success, so very eager to get going and to see where we can end up.
The Gold Cup was really competitive at Brands Hatch, and the same will be true here at Zandvoort, especially given the local interest surrounding Thierry Vermeulen, because the Dutch driver took an outright pole at Brands Hatch, and the Emil Frey racing driver now wants an outright race win to add to the tally.
Of course, a great start to the season in Brands Hatch. First pole position of the season is done, and a very good race as well. Now here in Zandvoort, my home track, super excited to see all the fans, and I can't wait to get the weekend started.
Another very rapid driver to find in the Silver Cup is Luc Hartog. The Dutch driver specialises in Porsches. He was really quick and impressive at Brands Hatch, and he is looking for a class win here this weekend. And that would not only please him, but also give the thousands of Dutch fans plenty to cheer about. The Porsche seems to have good pace here at Zandvoort.
Yeah, it's very great for me to actually be racing here at my home track at Zandvoort. I grew up 25 minutes away from here, so it's good. I used to spend a lot of time here with my dad watching the D3 cars go around, so it's kind of a full circle moment for me at this moment. So a lot of guests, a lot of people that I know coming through this weekend. So yeah, very excited to be racing here.
And another local hero is Max Janssen. He was quick at Brands Hatch in the Paradigm competition BMW, and he's looking for a silver class win here.
To be here on the podium, potentially here in Zandvoort, would be really cool, as would it be for the rest of the season, I guess. In the end, you're always trying to perform as well as you can, not for a driver, but only for or as well for the team, with the eventual goal to perform well in the championship.
The Bronze Cup makes its first outing of the year, where there has to be one bronze driver in each car. And new to the championship, the Qatari team, with Ghanem Salah Al Mahid. Looking forward to the race.
For me, the most challenging part of Zandvoort is all of it. It's very narrow track, and especially corner 10 and 9. We still didn't manage to find a good line. It's a little bit slippery for us. Hopefully we will try to manage through the traffic, through the race, and enjoy the race.
Rinat Salikov has been a class winner in the Spa 24 Hours in the past. He is a very experienced driver, and along with Gabriele Piana, one to watch. Mercedes-AMG comes out of the win with Racing Stable, and a class win is a real possibility.
First of all, I think that the GTVC is one of the toughest grids in the world, and also a lot of great, nice bronzes here, and I'm really happy to join them. I think the first 2 laps will be insane. For sure it will be very spectacular, very hard to drive, but we're looking forward. That's why we're here.
Lascia Mardini drives for the Lion Speed GP team with a very rapid Bastian Bus, and again this is a real car to watch in the Bronze Cup.
My hopes and expectations are to learn as much as I can, stay out of trouble, and try to just do the best that I can do out of myself, and hopefully we get a half-decent result, and maybe we build on future races.
Cars on track, sun shining, it is a warm day, bit of a blustery wind as well for the teams to factor in, especially with aero and any sand being waved from the beach onto the racetrack. But we are ready to go for race 1 of the weekend here with an enormous grid to the point whereby the pit window is going to be staggered for the purposes of this race weekend. Let's look at the grid. Bastian Bus starts on pole position, Gilles Magnus with him out the front then. Bronze pole, gold pole. Then the pro pole, third, Patrick Niederhauser. And starting 4th is another of the Bronze Cup cars, 2 Bronze Cup cars in the top 4. This is Dylan Pereira for Trezzo Attempto Racing. Starting 5th, Brands Hatch winner Alessio Rivera. Then Luca Engler lining up 6th in his Lamborghini. Another Brands winner, Lucas Auer, is going to go from 7th on the grid, and 8th is a former Sprint Cup champion, Ricardo Fella. Marvin Kirchhoff in the best of the McLarens is 9th. Jim Plas McLaren will be 10th on the grid ahead of Lukas Stoltz. Good pace this morning, or better pace at least, from the Busa VDS Mercedes AMGs. Dennis Marshall, another bronze, is next ahead of Sandy Mitchell's Barwell Lamborghini, and Adam Smalley's McLaren 14th ahead of Thierry Vermeulen and his teammate Conte Lappalainen, the 2 Emil Frey Ferraris together on the grid ahead of Thomas Neubauer, and then the Valkenhorst Aston in the hands of Enrique Chavez. Then Charles Weird, only 19th on the grid. That's got some work to do. Augusto Farfus is BMW alongside, ahead of Lawrence Spinelli, and then Alex Arca. Eddie Cheever is going to be next with Luke Hartog alongside. Christian Engelhardt makes a return to Sprint Cup, and he is going to be 25th on the grid with the newcomer Georgi Donkvitz alongside him. Max Janssen is on the other side of that row. Leonardo Moncini and Alfa Rougier come next with Jamie Day and Cesar Gazzo. Then you've got Ivan Klimenko and Al-Faisal Al-Zubar ahead of Marcus Siebert and Yusuf Ovega. Then you have the Aston Martin in the hands of a number of the newcomers. Rafael Suzuki, Matthias Lismont in the Chevrolet will be 36th on the grid. 37th, Gabriele Piana from Ivan Ekocic. Next up, it is going to be Gustav Bergström, who had a power steering drama in qualifying, pre-qualifying yesterday. Christian Bogle next, and the newcomer to the championship from the Qatari squad, Ghanem Salah Al Mahid, is going to round out the grid. So the lead car, Maserati, is going to bail for the pit lane, and then Bastian Bus on pole position, Gilles Magnus alongside him, Patrick Niederhauser 3rd, and Dylan Pereira 4th on the grid are going to be unleashed, as are the rest, down towards turn 1. Get through turn 1 safely, you can breathe a sigh of relief and then think about the race. It is a slow crawl out of that banked final corner. Speed will now quicken as they head up towards the lights, which in a moment will go from red to green, assuming that Niels Vitic, the race director, is happy with the positioning of the cars. Bastian Buus then on pole position. Lights are red, lights are red, lights are red. Green, blast off, and many of them dive out of the pack. There's one car on the grass already shedding bodywork as it goes, but Bastian Buus will lead. Patrick Niederhauser gets up the inside of Gilles Magnus, got his elbows out, tries to muscle his way through. And as they accelerate their way up to turn 2 for the first time of asking them, it is Bastian Buus in the lead. There's a spinner. It is a Lamborghini. I fear that might be extra, the Dennis Marshall Ferrari that has gone around. It is the Ferrari indeed that rotated. Everybody is avoiding him. Niederhauser finally secures second place. There are 2 in the gravel. Mustang, I think, might be one of them. We knew it was all going to kick off.
Kicked off before we even got to the start line, didn't it? I think it was Lapalainen, the Emil Frey Ferrari, lost his bonnet, was my guess on that one. Then Dennis Marshall got turned around, 2 cars in the gravel trap. Sector 1 is under yellow, unsurprisingly. I think this will go full course yellow, but drivers will know that, and they'll be pushing hard as we see the Rutronic Porsche down the inside of Smalley there.
And I would reckon it would go safety car rather than full course yellow on the opening lap of the race, because they can scramble the safety car and get that on track if it is required. The start's under investigation, but as soon as the lights went green, lots of cars darted, didn't they? Left, right, into the middle of the pack. And so as here, you're on board with Eddie Cheever. He's coming up towards the end of the lap. Yellow flags out at turn 2. Not had confirmation that we're going to go safety car as yet, but it's going to be a no overtaking zone on that part of the circuit as Bastian Buus controlled the start nicely. He leads the way. Safety car now called, so we will go safety car at the end of the opening lap. No real surprise there.
Just flicked out. It was just the slightest of contact for that Ferrari on the right side there. Flips the bonnet off.
It was Stoltz in the Mercedes that was the one that sort of dived to the middle and got sideways as he did so. There's Niederhauser up the inside of Magnus in turn 1. A bit of a rub between those 2. This is how Eddie Cheever saw the start.
Yeah, 9 places gained. You've seen 2 already straight away. Got the inside line into here, turn 1. You can see Farfus there really load up the middle of that red parodying BMW. We're just hugging the inside. Might see Dennis Marshall fly off left some point here. That was the tyre smoke, and then you see him. Then we get the run on Chavez, which has got damage on the front left. I'm not sure if he's got it yet or not. Is it going to happen now? Potentially, as he dives in turn 3. It was that Jim Plar getting the front puncture that we saw in box 4. Charles Wirtz also getting a good start, and Chavez see where he got the damage, but watch Dennis Marshall fly left. He got loaded up there. I think that's how Chavez got the front damage. I think Marshall got a poor run out. Chavez didn't want to lift and just fired him out the way.
Let's have another look and work out what happened to Dennis Marshall then, because in the dust storm he's already been turned around and collected. I think another of that was the Marcus Siebert car that bounced off him as well. The Mustang's already got damage and then can't turn and harpoons the Corvette. So the Mustang had already got damage. Ovega just could not turn the car. Safety car peels in, green flag ready on the start line. Bastian Buus leads, Patrick Niederhauser leads, Gilles Magnus. That's your top 3. They're all class leaders. We're back racing then here at Zandvoort as Luca Engstler tries to line up for a move, and so on the inside does the Ferrari of Alessio Rivera. He doesn't do it. Others rejoining from the pits. Chavez dives up the inside line of Wirtz. The Aston Martin still losing bits of bodywork, but he's not boxed. He's carrying on in the race. Bastian Buus leads the way. Look down from the drone. Ricardo Feller dives up the inside of the Ferrari. Lucas Auer in the yellow Mercedes AMG tries to follow suit. Contact again. That was Rivera bouncing into the side. Wow. Around has gone Ricardo Feller. He's up against the tyre barrier. Not good.
Poor fella there. That really wasn't his fault. Rivera had an awful start. Kirchhoffer jumped him at the start, and then he just was going backwards, and he outbraked himself, and unfortunately Feller was the only thing getting him around the corner. He spun himself. I think he's going to get a penalty for that move as well. Great job by Kirchhoffer. You can see a defence there from one of the Audis. Looks like the Porsche is going to get the switch back. We can see Cheever now down the inside of Chavez. Farfus trying to follow him through. It looks like Charles Wirtz has got good pace. He's continuing his march. Chavez's damage is getting worse from that first lap incident. Spinelli looking to the inside of Farfus. It is going off. The car that also hasn't got pace is the other AF Ferrari of Neubauer. He's dropping a lot of places.
And Feller has not yet got to the end of the first sector, so I'm fearful that the car is still stuck there. We'll keep an eye on that as the leaders come down through turn 11, 12 then for the first time after the restart. This is going to be the completion now of lap number 5. There's a baton, is that Loris Spinelli's car with bodywork hanging on it as well, Lamborghini. Up towards the end of the line, then they come. Right, Audi battle goes on. Gilles Magnus, Dylan Pereira. This is gold versus bronze. Magnus on the inside is the gold. Pereira's car nearest us runs in the bronze cup. Dylan Pereira tries to brave it out all the way around the outside. He's got his nose in front, he's got the inside line, now it's the outside line. Advantage Magnus, but now Pereira has the inside for 3. Job done. Nicely done.
Maybe not. I think it looked like Magnus was trying to get the cut back. He will have a run, but nowhere to go. That was an amazing late break there from Pereira. I thought Magnus was going to roll out the brake and run him out of road on the exit of 1. Very fair, too fair, in my opinion there. Pereira, quickest man on the track at the moment, so he should be able to make headway into the Porsches, and these Audis very strong at the end of the straight, so if he has got the lap time advantage, I think he's got a chance of catching Niederhausen and maybe making another overtake into turn 1. Look at Luca Enschler now, all over the back of Magnus. They were talking about tyre wear. The Audis thought they were okay. I would say they were wrong with that guess at the moment. We have a start line infringement as well going on. That's for car 32, so that could explain how Charles Wirtz made up so many of those places on the opening lap.
So Charles Wirtz under investigation. Ricardo Feller has done another fastest lap of the race. As you look back at Lucas Auer's car from Marvin Kirchhoff's McLaren, coming out of the Tarzan hairpin turn 1, kink at 2, and then accelerate now up towards turn 3, the Hugenholz box. This is where the road dips, it is banked. Mercedes hides itself behind that rear wing. This is Auer's view coming out the other side of the corner. Speed building now up through Hunsrück.
Yeah, we've got cameras looking at each other, and the vibration of that McLaren is as rough as it looks. A flat plane V8 engine in there, so you feel all those vibrations as a driver, and that is another distraction from you. And look at Kirchhoffer, he has dropped right off the back now, hasn't he? He was only half a second behind Enschler. We can't even see him from Lucas Auer's position right now. I think they're going to have to box that car early and potentially lower the tyre pressures for Kirchhoffer's teammate Ben Jigouth in the second half of this race. And look at this, Magnus back round Pereira, so that's switched around. Good job from Magnus Metronomic with his pace so far. Pereira quite the opposite, peaks and troughs so far, and will he be able to hold on from the hard-charging Enschler?
Yeah, just the Lamborghini getting closer again in 5th place, so the two Audis delaying one another by squabbling. Up towards Hunsrück they go. Bastien Buss still leading, but he's not getting away and he's not being caught. That margin has plateaued at 11 tenths. It's been like that for the last 4 or 5 laps. Let's have a look here in replay. The cars battling. This was the Audi squabble up the inside. Good late lunge there by Gilles Magnus. Run a little bit wide, but was still able to control it coming off the corner. Now, Patrick Niederhauser is now 9 tenths back from Bastien Buss and 1.8 seconds up the road from Gilles Magnus. What's the significance of Niederhauser? He will inherit the race lead, assuming it's not a slow pit stop, because the Bastien Buss Porsche will have to make a 64-second pit stop line to line, which is the regulation time. So Niederhauser's pit stop can be as quick as Rotronic Racing can do it. The Klaus Graf managed squad operating the car, and Niederhauser bails now at the very start of the window, gets out of the traffic, and they'll put the very quick Sven Müller behind the wheel. So now the order starts to shuffle because Magnus is in as well. So also is Lucas Auer down the pit lane. Luca Enschler is in also. So that's going to mean now that it is Buss from Pereira from Kirchhoffer as the top 3.
This is where the teams earn their money. Car controllers beckoning their car to stop. The tyre guys going. Remember, all 4 tyres will change, the car will drop. These cars have automatic jack start, so as soon as they feel the air pressure releasing, the engines will auto fire up and the driver will either drop the clutch, or if it's an auto one, they'll be full throttle, spinning those wheels up. And it does look like the Rutronic Porsche kept ahead of the Audi. One of the Lamborghinis, I think that must be Pepper taking over from Enschler as well. Good pit stops from those 3 cars.
Right, Sven Müller comes down the pit lane.
That was tight between the Winwood car and Pepper. It'd be interesting if there was any contact.
But Engel gets out just ahead and therefore gains on the pit stop. So the yellow Winwood Racing Mercedes AMG on the pit stops jumps the now Jordan Pepper Lamborghini. Race control have just confirmed that it was another tight one there because Chris Lullen almost, as he's released, tags the back of the Audi coming in. Race control confirmed that the jump start penalty for the second car is indeed Farfus 991, not 911, so they've corrected that. That finishes off that story. And look at this for a busy racetrack. Sandy Mitchell just at the head of the queue. There's Kelvin van der Linde in the middle of all of this in number 32 BMW as they drop now down. You've got Benjamin Gerster up the inside rubbing against the Audi. Around the outside comes Maxime Martin, and the Qatari Audi just monstered out of the way. A 5-second penalty to Mauro Engel for an unsafe release. The number 48 Mercedes gets a 5-second penalty for the unsafe release. So Sven Muller now is going to take over as the race leader. He and Patrick Niederhauser have only had one Sprint Cup win. That was Barcelona at the back end of last year, heading up towards the timing line. That car absolutely on its own, a legacy of a good pit stop and the battles behind delaying those involved. So now Sven Muller, as you can see, has a relatively easy stint. He's just got to bring that car back home without making any mistakes at all. Paul Everard is second, leading gold. Mauro Engel is third, but with a Damocletian penalty hanging over him. And then you've got behind him Jordan Pepper. There is Hugo Cook, who's been caught again, is he not, by Benji Goethe?
Yeah, it really is. And Verts, who's handed over to Van der Linden now, getting caught by Martin as well. Basha Mardini slots into a nice bit.
So this is your battle for 6th, 7th and 8th. As up the inside goes the McLaren. Benji Goethe with his elbows out. He's just going to be ahead, but he's on the outside line as we go yellow in the first sector. Down they come side by side to turn 11. Hugo Cook breaks as late as he can. Goethe stands his ground on the inside, but he can't hang on to the place. He's up the curb. Hugo Cook with great defence retains the place.
And it's Pulcini who's in the wall, pulls out in front of Everard, and that's going to be Engel's battle as well. He's been in the wall. Is there going to be more debris? He's not fully aware of those cars around him at the moment by the looks of it. He's going to chop across the front of Pepper.
Lets him go, but this is Engel's chance then to strike against Everard, and if he can get past and clear 5 seconds, that's going to help him. But no, Paul Everard hangs onto the place then. This, in real terms, is for 2nd, 3rd and 4th overall.
Puccini stays out after all that damage. He's decided to stay out. We go on board with them. Let's see what happens. Got Lamborghini in front. So far, so good. Slightly late on the brakes. Has a wiggle of oversteer. We've seen that, haven't we, with F1 cars there. When you get the oversteer, you correct it, and it just sends you in the wall because of the banking. Oh, big slide from Engel there. The only thing is it is both Santalok Audis. Will he be able to help his teammate? I don't think he will through this fast-flowing nature of the back end of Zandvoort. Pepper here, looking sparks coming out of Engel as he bottoms out over the crest. They're all being held up. Can anyone do anything to get a slingshot on exit and do a lunge? I think Engel's got a chance here on the inside.
Yeah, he has, certainly. But then across the front of him comes Everard, dives up the inside of his teammate. Engel can't find a way through, but Jordan Pepper can, because he makes full advantage. He's got past one. He gets past the back marker as well. Jordan Pepper, ever the opportunist, looked like he'd been hung out to dry and boxed in behind the Audi at one point, but he is able to come through and he takes the place away from Engel. He was going to inherit it anyway on corrected time, but he's done it on merit, he's done it on track, and he's done it with a really good move.
So let's have a look. So he's down the inside and then just decides to stay on the brake. He must have been thinking, I'm going to be 3 wide on the middle, on the inside here. I'm going to create an incident and get a penalty. I'm surprised he's backed out of it. I can see why he's done it, but I think he was in the driving position there.
There, you've got Basha Mardini, who is still leading in bronze. You've got the Silver Cup Retronic Porsche behind of Pieris, and then Chris Lulham's Gold Cup Ferrari next in the queue. And Lulham is going to make a lunge up the inside. That's pretty brave, and he's got it done nicely.
Yeah, really nice. And he's second in that gold class. He's trying to escape the BMW factory driver of Jens Klingman in that white BMW. 4th in the train there, so he's got some impetus to get going. He's not going to be able to catch the Audi of Everett, 3rd overall, 1st in class, but he is hustling hard. That is a move straight out of iRacing SimWorld, round the outside. I don't care there's sand and dirt, I'm still going to send it. There was a bit of contact. He probably would have got a 1x in iRacing language, but that was phenomenal. This is where I love sim races. They come on and just go, you don't overtake round the outside of turn 7. Watch this.
Yeah, change of place there. Kelvin van der Linde gets up the inside of Hugo Cook. He's already cleared Benji Goethe, and now that BMW is therefore up into 5th place. So 5th place now for number 32 BMW, and that was, remember, a car that started 19th on the grid. Is that the save of the day?
It really is, isn't it? They've been absolutely flying along. Benji Goethe getting bored of this view right now, isn't he? The 78 Barwell car has just been sat there. Which car is this going? So it's an Audi.
It's the Qatari Audi again, I think, being lapped. But I was just thinking, you know, you've got, as you say, Goethe bored with the view. Well, van der Linde did something about it. He jumped the McLaren, he jumped the Lamborghini, and he's away. But Goethe is stuck.
Yeah, and it's just the nature of the cars, and Hugo Cook goes in deep there. What's he going to do? He's got to afford space on the exit. He does not. There's contact. That slows them both up. Can Maxime Martin do anything? Is Goethe going to lunge him back? He's a bit far back to get his revenge on Cook. That was right on the borderline of what's acceptable. They were side by side. He alleviated him towards the outside, I would suggest, rather than pushed.
And Hugo Cook thinking, don't care who you are, I want my place. And he's retained it, comes up to the timing line. Sven Muller to Jordan Pepper, 7.1 seconds, 2.9 back. He's a class-leading Paul Everard. 4th is Mauro Engel. Now, he's 10 seconds up the road from Kelvin van der Linde. That gap might come down, and then he might be in jeopardy as you look at Goethe and Cook side by side. Through will go Benji Goethe there, going up towards the approach to turn 3, and Maxime Martin tries to buy into this as well. He goes up wide at turn 3, tries to go around the outside of Cook, can't do it. Jens Klingman has the fastest top speed overall, his BMW matched by the BMWs of Calvin van der Linde and Augusto Farfus. So the BMWs might not be doing great guns in terms of overall places, but they've got good speed. And this was a rather muscular Goethe getting up the inside of Hugo Cook.
Yeah, rubs him up on the apex and gets the job done. I think Hugo Cook gave up because he was trying to hang around the outside. He knew how rough he had already been to that McLaren, so if he tried to stay there, he was going to get fired off. As Engel is finally alongside, but it's going to be a hard move around the outside, trying to squeeze each other under the brake zone. Engel goes in deep, gets the job done. Great move, hard, fair racing from both.
Right, now he's got to pull out 5 seconds, hasn't he? And he's got to do that in 11 3/4 minutes, which is not going to be easy. But Mauro Engel is going to be up for the challenge, assuming the team have told him. Now, if the message hasn't got through about the penalty, they need to give it to him to make sure that the remainder of the race is done like a qualifying session. Push, 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 stretch that margin to be 3rd overall. This is the lead Porsche, lest we forget. A 2nd Sprint Cup win beckons for Retronic Racing. They had a tough 2024. They won on the road at Magny-Cours and then got a post-race penalty. They did win in Barcelona at the back end of last year in the last round, and it looks as though they're going to win race 1 here in the 2nd event of the year in Sprint Cup, because 1 lap to go now. 21 seconds coming towards Tarzan hairpin for Sven Muller. Goes through the hairpin ahead of Jordan Pepper. The gap 5.9 seconds, but Jordan ain't going to get there in time. And again, as we've been suggesting, Sven Muller just driving within himself.
Yeah, it was that car that I said was going to win, wasn't it? The car that's leading. And I think the car you said was going to win was car 51 in 36. So we'll work out who won that bet later on.
Close the door on your way over. Over the brow then goes Jordan Pepper. That's also been a good effort. Luca Engler got on with the job very effectively in that opening stint. 6th on the grid. Mauro Engel's car that was 7th on the grid, set for 3rd place. Considering that overtaking ain't easy around here, we've had more of it than perhaps anticipated, and a lot of drama from the very start of the race all the way through. So, checkered flag for Sven Muller. Retronic Racing, Sven Muller, Patrick Niederhauser and Porsche victorious at Zandvoort. Great drive by both of them. It is a win for the 2nd time in Sprint Cup for Sven Muller and Patrick Niederhauser. And Jordan Pepper and Luca Engler take 2nd. Luca Engler's best outright result. Mauro Engel and Lucas our 3rd. More good points for the championship. A win in gold and 4th overall for Gilles Magnus and Paul Everard. 5th, Kelvin van der Linde and Charles Weerts. Another tough day, but good points for them. And for 6th place, it is going to be Benji Goethe and Marvin Kirchhofer. Hugo Cook will fend off Maxime Martin, Arthur Leclerc, the silver-winning Ezekiel Perez Compact, then Chris Lallam, then Jens Klingman, a whole gaggle of cars pouring over the line together at the end of an hour of drama and damage and some great battles and a few scores to settle tomorrow. But that race was a lot more lively than 1 or 2 people were fearing in the build-up to it, with a big shuffle of the order really throughout, but the opening laps in particular turned things upside down. So Patrick Niederhauser and Sven Muller win at Zandvoort in race 1 from Luca Engel and Jordan Pepper. Lucas Auer and Mauro Engel taking 3rd from Gilles Magnus and Paul Everard. Charles Weerts, Kelvin van der Linde 5th. That was a good recovery after a troublesome qualifying ahead of Marvin Kirchhofer and Benji Goethe. Then Sandy Mitchell and Hugo Cook ahead of Lucas Stoltz and Maxime Martin. 9th, Arthur Leclerc and Thomas Neubauer. 10th, you winning silvers, Alex Arca and Ezekiel Perez Compact. It was a winning goal for Gilles Magnus and Paul Everard. And Bastien Bus and Basha Mardini hung on to win in bronze by 1.9 seconds. It was close at the end, but the Porsche that led the opening stint outright wins in bronze. Lucas Auer and Mauro Engel taking those 3rd place trophies for the Winwood Racing team, for Grasser Racing team. Good to have Grasser looking so strong once again within GT World Challenge Europe. 2nd place for Luca Engler and Jordan Pepper, and the race-winning team, Retronic Racing, and the drivers Patrick Niederhauser and Sven Muller on the top step of the podium. And it's going to be really interesting to see what race 2 brings tomorrow here at Zandvoort. And so after the drama of race 1, race 2 beckons, with qualifying having taken place this morning. It has given us Ben Green on pole position, the British driver, a 3rd career pole in GT World Challenge Europe powered by AWS Sprint Cup. The sun has come out, temperatures have gone up a little bit. It was a really chilly morning, still quite windy, quite blustery, but the team's getting ready to go. It's an all Emil Frey Racing lockout at the front of the grid. Ben Green and Chris Lullen. For Chris, it's his second gold pole in a row, the third gold pole for the team. So Emil Frey Racing really good in qualifying, but what we have seen in Brands Hatch 2 races and yesterday here was that time is wasted in the pits. They need to be absolutely on top of that going into the pit window today, which will be between 25 and 30 minutes for the Pro and Gold Cup cars, 30 to 35 minutes the window for Silver and Bronze. David Addison and Joe Osborne are trackside, and what a track it is.
Yeah, Zandvoort, one of my favourite, one of the drivers' favourites out there. 41 cars out there. It's going to be very hard and frenetic. We saw one of the most chaotic starts ever in a GT World Challenge sprint race yesterday. We lost 10 cars, and I wonder if we're going to see the same again. Race 2 sometimes a bit wilder because it is the last race of the weekend for the drivers and the cars.
And they've got a fortnight of repair time as well. Let's go to the grid then. Number 63, Jordan Pepper, had his lap times taken away this morning for a track limit offence. They were then reinstated. So Jordan lines up third on the grid. He's with Alex Legui.
So here we are on the second row of the grid. I've got Jordan and Luca here to tell me what happened. You're reinstated. You're back up the sharp end.
Yeah, I mean, nothing to talk about really. I was quite shocked actually when we got the info only after the session as well that we got the track limit. It was a few intense moments, but to be fair to the race control and stuff, they realized that they made a mistake and reinstated us. Thank goodness, because to start P40 here after we tried twice to start P30 in Brands Hatch would have been a mess, but happy to be here. Second row, all to play for 1 hour. So much tire deg here, so I think everything can happen.
Luca, when we spoke at the start of the weekend, you believed that a lot of people were sandbagging and that you didn't necessarily expect to be quite so high up at the sharp end, but here you are. I mean, you are behind the prancing horses, as you suspected, but still a good place to be.
So that's what I said, sandbagging? All right. No, I mean, in the end, you know how it is. You never know where you are until it's qualifying. I think we maximized what we have, and long race ahead. Pit stop obviously very important, and I think it's all to play for.
Good, indeed. Hopefully see you on the podium.
Well, Luca Engschler and Jordan Pepper, both very quick drivers, and as Jordan makes the point, they are back to third on the grid, but had the time not been reinstated, they'd have been kind of in Harlem. They'd have been a long way back, and it's hard to overtake around here. Ben Green then on pole position, and there he is, a happy man. Conso Lapalainen, his co-driver, got roughed up at the start yesterday. Even before turn 1, the car was shedding bodywork, so it was a bit of a waste of a day yesterday for Ben, but he's fought back and will go toe-to-toe off the start with Chris Lullen in the sister Emil Frey racing car, the one in the Red Bull colours. 3 Ferraris then in the top 4 on the grid. A very different look to the grid today than yesterday.
Yeah, I think those teams worked hard into the night with setup changes, and Emil Frey really getting that car on song. Chris Lullen there getting his helmet on. We've got just around 11.5 minutes until race starts. It's a long time to be on the grid for these drivers. A lot of GT racing, you are out pit lane. It's 5 to 10 minutes on the grid, but here we're 25 minutes, and time is your enemy as a driver. It eats away in the back of your mind any doubt you would have had over your own ability, over drivers next to you, what they're going to do at the start. The positive with that latter comment is he is alongside his teammate Ben Green, so they could have had a predetermined plan in the truck before they hit turn 1.
Now, another car that went nicely in qualifying this morning, the Chevrolet Corvette Jesse Salmonautio with Alex.
I thought I'd come and chat to the Stella boys because you've been a bit under the radar, but I feel like you've been quietly building here. How is the Corvette doing?
Yeah, it's been quite rough beginning at Brands, but we've been working quite hard with the setup and getting better every stint. Yeah, it's good to finally be more in the front, fight for the podiums, and let's see how it goes.
How does the Corvette feel around Zandvoort? Is it a car that is suited to this track?
It's quite good for the fast corners because the aero is quite good, but it's not the best for the more technical slow corners. Maybe it's quite a stiff car, but yeah, it's all right.
Good. Have you seen the steering wheel in here? This is quite unique. Come and have a look at this. Look at all those colours. It's a great looking steering wheel. Thank you, Jesse.
So, Jesse Sarmanatio, who also did not get a run yesterday because the car was drilled on the opening lap. It was attacked by a Ford Mustang, so it was out even before turn 3 yesterday. Lots of teams coming into this with a real hope of differing fortunes. That steering wheel that we've just been looking at, all those different buttons, all colour-coded. There's a lot for the driver to do, more than just turn left and right.
Yeah, a huge amount. There'll be even more in the centre console as well. As you can see, Leclerc getting ready. His brother will be doing a similar thing in another championship. The AF course mechanic standing near those wheels, trying to keep the heat in the brakes to then radiate into the tyres. These drivers will have to do quite a lot of work on this formation lap. They've only got 4.2 kilometres to try and get them back up to optimal temperature as we look at the Rutronic Porsche race winners yesterday. Niederhaus started yesterday this turn. Sven Muller, he had a pretty relaxing stint, didn't he? They've been very quick in the pit stops, Rutronic, so he was able to cruise around and keep a nice steady lead. It won't be the same story today. Starting on the outside is one thing, but being on the third row as well, he's going to have a lot of work to do to get past 3 Ferraris and a Lamborghini.
Now, so much of it can be done at turn 1, as we saw yesterday with big dramas. Let's go back to the grid. 74, Dustin Blattner, one of the drivers in bronze to keep an eye on.
Dustin, it is such a competitive bronze field this year. To what extent, when you're sitting here right in the thick of it, do you focus on class or overall?
Mostly just focusing on class right now, especially with the start we had yesterday. Right now, hopefully just trying to keep a clean race in the first lap and maintaining pace to hand it over to Dennis.
Good. Best of luck.
Dustin Blattner with Dennis Marshall. Dennis started yesterday, got turned around on the opening lap, but they still fought back to be on the podium, third in bronze. That was quite a recovery, but equally, there were quite a few people in the wars yesterday. So Ben Green, Chris Lallam, Jordan Pepper, Arthur Leclerc, Laurens Leclerc, who is the silver pole winner, and Sven Muller is your top 6 on the grid with this very strong 41 car field ready to blast into battle. Grid being cleared. Of course, it's a rolling start, so the cars will move away behind the Maserati leading car and blast into business at the end of that formation lap. And we are into the final 3 minutes of the build-up. There you can see from the drone looking down onto the grid, Lamborghini, Audi. Just also to make the point, this is the first weekend in which the Bronze Cup is competing in sprint. There just wasn't the room for them all at Brands Hatch, but there is here. And so that adds to the amount of traffic. It is why we've got the split qualifying. It's why we've got the split pit window. But it means, therefore, you've got only 5 minutes of a window for the classes rather than the normal 10. But it does at least take some of the pressure away in the pit lane. Thinking pit lane, Maro Engel, he got done this morning for speeding coming into the pits by 0.2 of a kilometre an hour.
Yeah, the rules are rules, 50 kilometres an hour. It's not 50.2, is it, the limit? And yeah, €50 fine. It's the smallest fine. It's €50 per a kilometre an hour over. Can get very expensive very quickly, but more of a slap on the wrist than a real hard penalty there for Maro Engel.
And he's going to be one to watch, of course. So is Vincent Abril, Brands Hatch winner. And Vincent Abril, now a Ferrari driver, Alessio Rivera, his co-driver. They lost out yesterday, contact with Ricardo Feller's Porsche. They retired all that. I think the car had a problem anyway because it was losing places, which is why Feller was able to make that jump heading up towards turn 3.
Yeah, Benji Goeth here in the Garage 59 car got roughed up by Van der Linden in the WRT 32 car. You can just see the Skechers livery on the side. No further action on that one, and I know Garage 59 weren't happy about that one. Cars firing up 1 minute board, the final mechanics now vacating. Look at those 2 Emerald Frey Ferraris side by side. Max Verstappen sponsored one on the right of Lulham. Max Verstappen's won every Dutch Grand Prix since it came back here in 2021. Is that going to be a trend that continues?
So the cars in a moment ready to be released, and there you've got the Emile Frey Ferraris then at the front of the grid. Jordan Pepper, one to watch on the second row with Arthur Leclerc alongside. Keep an eye on the bronze cars, the Bronze Cup cars. They have to make a pit stop to a regulation time, and therefore they will drop away by necessity, but it's still a very competitive fight. And you've got, for the second stint, the higher graded drivers, you only have to have 1 bronze, you don't have to have 2. So you've got people like Bastien Bus, Augusto Farfus, for example, in the Bronze Cup car. And Bastien Bus, out of bronze, put the Porsche on pole position yesterday, so they are going to be worth watching as the complexion of the race changes all the way through. We're in business then. The formation lap is underway. The cars released behind the Maserati leading car, and they make that run now down towards the Tarzan hairpin. Let's have a look at the grid based on the times that were being done this morning, with really just one gun lap that people could wring out of the tyres, and it's Ben Green who starts on pole position with Chris Lallam alongside him. Jordan Pepper is going to start third. Arthur Leclerc will go from fourth on the grid ahead of Lawrence Leclerc, and then Sven Muller, he and Patrick Niederhauser, yesterday's winners. Starting seventh is Brands Hatch winner, indeed reigning champion, Mauro Engel, with Benjamin Goethes' McLaren alongside. Then you have Calvin van der Linde in the WRT BMW number 32, and Ezequiel Perez Companc, victorious in silver yesterday, comes next ahead of Vincent Abril and Jesse Salmonautio in the Chevrolet. Simon Gachet is next with Maxime Oostin, one of the 4 Dutch drivers on the grid for company. Sebastian Nugard and Maxime Martin come next. Then it is Aurelien Panis, who's had a silver win already this year. Kobe Powell's lines up alongside Louis Pret and Hugo Cook, who had impressive racecraft yesterday, are on the next row of the grid ahead of Jens Klingman and Romain Andriolo in the Ford Mustang. Next up, there is Jeff Machiels. He's had a Silver Cup win as well this year. Dustin Blattner next in the Ferrari he shares with Dennis Marshall ahead of Bijoy Garg due to the championship and Gilles Stadsbader. Then it is Isham Peris with Isaac Tutumlu alongside him. A long way back, the Paul Evrard Audi that was on the gold pole yesterday. He shares that with Gilles Magnus. They took a gold win indeed yesterday as well. Alongside is Baptiste Moulin. Next is Matteo Villa-Gomez and Darren Lund BMW ahead of Renat Salikov. And alongside him is then Georgi Donchev, new to the championship in the Bronze Cup Grasser Racing team entry. Besha Mardini won bronze yesterday with Bastian Bus. Dimitri Gatsava is alongside him. Then it's Andre Mukovoz and Ricardo Baptista, Gabriel Rindone and Marco Pulcini next on the grid. Pulcini, though, gets a grid drop, so he falls to the very back behind Ibrahim Al-Abdolghani. That is the order then, as the cars make their way through on this final formation lap, and track position around here so important. We've got to do a lot of overtaking off the start.
Yeah, and a man we've seen do a lot of overtaking already this year is that Jordan Pepper Lamborghini on board. Here we are with our looking back at van der Linde. This is somewhere where some contact could be. These guys know they've got a championship, but you need points to win it, and that is the constant state of flux. How much do you risk contact overtaking versus how many points you could lose if you got a DNF?
So the cars now getting themselves in that 2x2 formation as they come up now towards the completion of the formation lap. And Ben Green with Constant Lapalainen as his co-driver. They were winners in Sprint Cup at Hockenheim last year. They've got the Verstappen.com entry lining up alongside. There's Jordan Pepper. I reckon Jordan could be the man to watch on these first few corners because he is fiery, he is feisty, he is very, very fast. Luca Enschler, his co-driver, is a real gun as well. That could be a dark horse victory then. The cars make their way up towards the timing line. It is race 2 of the weekend in GT World Challenge Europe Sprint Cup. We go racing. Ben Green makes a good start. Chris Lallo on the outside line needs to try to slot in if he can, or stand his ground on the outside line and take the battle to his teammate coming out of turn 1, which he does. Here comes Jordan Pepper in third place, looking to try to find a way past the Ferraris as you look down from the drone up towards turn 2, then 3 for the first time. Which Ferrari is it going to be? It's both of them. They're side by side. Lallam on the inside, Ben Green on the outside, and they're still tied together coming over the brow of Hunsrück. Ben Green hanging on to the advantage then as the cars work their way through. Jordan Pepper looks for a way to get up into second place, can't do it. Ben Green managing to stay ahead. Now people take a bit of a deep breath as they drop down towards turn 7, but a really dramatic start to the race.
Yeah, Mauro Engel there, a lot of grass, a lot of curb. I think Lallam could have had the lead there if it wasn't against his teammate Green. He could have run him up to the wall on the exit of 3, decided he better not do that on his teammate. Now Ben Green can have the chance to escape, and he is at the moment. Pepper in third, and it's looking pretty racy down, but it's been a much, much cleaner start than yesterday.
Through they turn then. That one, Ben Green leads, off the road goes one of the Garage 59 McLarens, and it gets onto the grass the other side of the gravel bed, so that is going to enable the Adam Smalley Louis Pret entry to dig itself out the other side. Louis Pret back on track then, but that's going to thrown right the way down to the bottom of the order, hemorrhaging places as Ferrari 1, Ferrari 2, Lamborghini 3, Ferrari 4 come through at the end of lap 1. Starts under investigation as per normal, and Ben Green will put 1 lap in the book, heading the Emil Frey fleet across the line.
Yeah, Pepper's sticking to the rear of Lulham at the moment on this opening lap. Leclerc starting to drop back, isn't he? He's now got the Audi of Leclerc right over him. Benji Goff doing well as we see an Audi going to the inside. Is he going to get the move done? Gets it done. That looked nice and clean. That was Perez Compact on Houston from the Paradigm BMW.
And that's for second in silver as well, so it's an important pass. There are the 3 leaders at the moment. 4th Arthur Leclerc just dropping back a little bit. Jordan Pepper equally not quite staying on the back of those 2 Ferraris. As you ride above the dunes, you're on board now with Jordan Pepper.
Yeah, shifting through the gears up to 6th gear, 240, 250 kilometers an hour over the blind crest as battles rage on. There we got Maxime Martin right on the back of one of the other BMWs. So Houston again, the Stella Corvette getting attacked from the Audi behind. It's fast and frenetic and so far clean down the order.
Jesse Salmon Autio in the Stella Motorsport Chevrolet Corvette. Didn't get a drive yesterday because it was off the road on lap 1. Ben Green trying to build the gap. It is Arthur Leclerc 4th, starting to close a little bit on Jordan Pepper. 5th behind him is Lawrence Leclerc. He leads silver. 6th is Benji Goethe. 7th is Sven Muller. He's gone backwards. 8th is Calvin van der Linde. Mauro Engel is 9th. He's dropped back too. 10th is Vincent Abril. A lot can still shake out, of course, of all of this within the hour as the cars now come down to the chicane. Turns 11 and 12. The Hans Ernst Vogt. Hans Ernst, one of the original pioneering founders of the circuit at Zandvoort, and now up towards the completion of lap number 2 they come, with Ben Green trying to build that lead, but you can see further back the effects of being stuck in the traffic. You are just jammed in there.
Yeah, nose to tail, not a lot of obvious overtaking spots. One of them is into turn 1 where they're hurtling towards. Now Pepper looking to the inside, that's more to get some clean air. It does look like Lulham has closed that gap a lot, doesn't it, on the last lap alone. 0.3 of a second quicker than Ben Green. Back on board with Pepper through this 1B corner. It's not really a corner, it's a kick into 2. You've got to get the car over to the right. Lulham looking to the inside of Ben Green. That's not a normal overtake there. They run up high on the wall of death, and now we're full throttle for 450 metres through the dunes here at Zandvoort.
So now Chris Lulham coming back at Ben Green, isn't he? Ben Green's car runs in the Pro Cup, the Gold Cup for Chris Lulham and Thierry Vermeulen's Red Bull livery car in 2nd place. But Chris Lulham, who is far less experienced in real-world racing terms than Ben Green, is having to go back at his teammate. Chris made his reputation initially in esports and then in radical racing last year, where he was just so dominant it was not true. Now, Jordan Pepper is closing on Lulham. Lulham is on the back of Green, and all of a sudden we've got a 3-way fight for the race lead.
Yeah, this is difficult for Lulham. It's his teammate, so the move has to be perfect. He can't afford any contact. Pepper will know that, and that V10 singing along happily. He is able to sit with Lulham. I think he's going to give Lulham half a lap to try and get something done on the leader, Ben Green. And after that, I expect Jordan Pepper to be looking to get past that 69 Max Verstappen-sponsored Ferrari.
And that Ferrari of Chris Lulham, the Verstappen.com entry, is, of course, leading gold. But as we learnt at Brands Hatch, Thierry Vermeulen particularly doesn't care about gold wins. He wants outright wins. So that's another reason why Lulham is going to be on the attack for the outright lead, why he's going to make it hard for Jordan Pepper to get past him for 2nd place. Up towards the timing line they come. 3 laps will now be in the book. Green leads Lulham, leads Pepper. And then in 4th place, Arthur Leclerc. 5th, Lawrence Leclerc. We're still leading silver. Pepper on the attack once again, trying to get up the inside then, but couldn't quite do it there. Look further back in the pack as this big field comes through. Now, can Pepper grind his way up the inside going into turn 3? No, he can't, because Lulham is able to close the door in anticipation and get the right line for that banked left-hander.
Pepper's going to see if he can make Lulham crack here. I don't think he will. The sim racers seem to come onto the scene with a very cool, calm, almost an arrogance that real world is easier, as we see the 991 car of Darren Lung all over the back of the Lamborghini. Darren is getting faster and faster, but Zandvoort is a hard track to attack at, and at the moment he's not able to do anything.
Georgi Donchev is in the Lamborghini, Darren Lung in that BMW. 32nd and 33rd they are, ahead of yesterday's bronze winner Basha Mardini in the Lion Speed Porsche. At the back of the pack, incidentally, it is the Qatari Audi of Ibrahim Al Abdulghani, racing here for the first time. And Darren Lung, British GT champion, there he is, the man that owns the Paradigm competition team. It's run by Simon Traves out of his Skegness workshop, where he has his 2 Briscoe Formula 1 stock cars as well. But Darren Lung is the real driving force behind the operation. The 01 Lamborghini then of Georgi Donchev goes through. He, in turn, he's trying to get himself onto the back of Isuk Tutumlu's McLaren, the CSA racing car. And Tutulu is going after Renat Salikov there in the Winwood Racing Mercedes.
And it looks like that Mercedes is starting to hold up the McLaren. Is it going to have a move done on it? The McLaren very strong at the end of the straights. That could be an opportunity as they come to turn number 1.
Fastest lap of the race had been done by Sven Muller. Then Ben Green took it off him, and now Lawrence Leclerc has done it. So as the fuel load comes down and tyre temperatures go up, the best lap of the race being traded, as long as you've got a bit of clear space around you. If you're stuck in the traffic, it's going to be very, very hard indeed. Jesse Salman Autio's Chevrolet still in 14th place, and there you've got the Dustin Blattner, Dennis Marshall Ferrari. 24th it is, and leading bronze, Dustin Blattner, who's done a lot of racing in a very short space of time. And that leading trio is starting to be caught, isn't it, by Leclerc, who's taking Leclerc with him.
Yeah, the lap times are falling. They're getting there, but they're a long way off the lap record. We were down in the low 34s, so at the moment we're in the mid 36s. Yes, we're full of fuel. We'll get some new tyres on some of the cars in the pit stop, so that should find them a second, but the pace isn't particularly quick at the front, and that's why they're starting to bunch up. It's really all the way back to Engel. I would say they're going to be as one long chain. That's 9 cars running as one in the next few laps.
Through there goes number 9, the Maxime Martin-driven Mercedes in 13th place as the race leaders drop down towards the chicane once more. Leclerc under attack from Lawrence Leclerc, isn't he? He's doing a very, very good job in the Audi as they wriggle out of the chicane. Leclerc, the Alpine Eurocup champion 2 seasons back, another convert from single-seaters into GT machinery, and now he's going to make a move coming out of 13. A big drama with a punctured tyre. Leclerc is off the racetrack.
He was deep into the chicane. I saw him dip a wheel in the gravel. Was that because he had an issue, or was that what's caused the puncture? He's got to get out of the way of his teammate as well, and haven't seen contact, stays out, interestingly.
Couldn't cut across, maybe, or doesn't realise quite what he's got. So either Arthur Leclerc couldn't go from the far outside and cut across the traffic to get in, or the tyre is deflating but not fully deflated. He's going to learn about it on this lap, though, when he turns the corner.
Yeah, he really is, and he's done well to not get in the way of too many people as we go on board with Urs here, coming through the 992 Parody car, the sister car. As Darren Lund can see the Audi in front. We've got a good drive. We're very quick in sector 1 in this BMW, and we've got to try and make it pay as we sweep through 6. There's such a short break here at 7, and Leclerc's going slow. Doesn't look like it's on the right side, just trying to spot on the left as we tumble through 7 now. You can just see this is where the BMW starts to lose out on the more nimble Audi in these mid-speed corners. The long wheelbase of the BMW is not the one you would choose.
You can see the graphic, the speed that Maxime Houston is pulling around the circuit. Second gear coming out of turn 9, grabs third up towards 10, then back on the brakes, down to second gear to just about 82 kilometres an hour, back on the power the other side of the corner. Big grandstand on the right, down towards the chicane, and on this lap, Maxime Houston in the Silver Cup BMW, still chasing after Ezekiel Perez compact, but not close enough to make a move, and of course they've gained a place with Arthur Leclerc's travails on the previous lap. Leclerc's going to have to pit. The task for AF Corsa now is going to be to keep the Ferrari on the lead lap.
Yeah, and then pray for a safety car to bunch everyone up, but that's going to become a long afternoon for that car. And interestingly, as I said, didn't see any damage. Damage I do see is Lulham is missing a mirror, and that will really impede him. So that right mirror there, he hasn't got anything. Pepper uses that to his advantage, and he gets the job done. Interesting where he lost that mirror, but that definitely hurt him. Yes, they might have a rear view camera, but Lulham now back to the inside. We've seen this move happen. He goes in deep. Pepper, I think, is going to mug it back. Is he going to run him wide? Lulham gets the throttle, and that's the first move we've seen successfully done at turn 3 this weekend.
So Chris Lulham back into second place, and will be on the attack again to try and close back up on Ben Green, who had 0.6 of a second worth of breathing space when they came over the line, and it'll be greater than that now with Lulham and Pepper having been trading that place. 4th behind them now is Lawrence Leclerc, and the leader is going to be given a time penalty for a jump start. Ben Green is being given a 10-second time penalty for a jump start. This is the Ferrari in the pit lane then, in the hands of Arthur Leclerc.
Is it suspension or something else? Can you tell me the problem? The car broke. The car broke. There is nothing special. I'm taking this fucking car very off. Group of cars behind, take care.
So no wiser there, but yeah, the jump start for Ben Green. The lights were red when the cars were accelerating. We could hear that, and you should not accelerate, should not deviate from your speed until the lights go green. And he went. And why is no one else getting a penalty? He's the leader. If he goes, everyone has to go with him. But that is going to really, really hurt them. And that 10 seconds added in the pit stop at the moment is going to drop them well outside the top 15.
Race leaders go by, back on board with Jordan Pepper, who is still coming under attack from Lawrence Leclerc, who is under attack as well now from Benji Goethe in the McLaren. Pepper again tries to squirt up the inside, coming out of the corner. Leclerc is racing with people that are far more experienced, but he's rising to the challenge, isn't he? He's keeping the McLaren at bay and closing up onto the back of the Lamborghini all at the same time as they now come off the corner, make the run up towards Hunsrug once more. So Ben Green leading, he's getting away. He really does need Chris Lullam now to kind of play the team game to allow him to try and overcome that 10-second penalty.
Yeah, and I don't think it's going to be in Lullam's interest. He needs to get away from Pepper. I'm still amazed that Pepper didn't defend that move into 3 because the pace of that car is strong. Could Lullam be fast if he wasn't worrying about defending? Of course he would, but he isn't able to break free. And that's the ebb and the flow of GT racing. Suddenly, Leclerc, who looked like he was on the front foot, is getting attacked by Goethe in the McLaren, who's then getting attacked by this Rutronic Porsche of Sven Muller. And if Muller doesn't get it, then Van der Linde will be on him, and then he'll be on by Engel in the yellow Mercedes at the back of this pack. That is how fast and frantic it is. And this maybe will give Abril in this Ferrari, the red and yellow Ferrari, a chance to make it an even bigger battle pack.
And still, it is Lawrence Leclerc leading silver from Ezekiel Perez Companc, and then Maxime Osten third in 992, BMW third in silver. The leading gold, remember, is Chris Lullam. The leading bronze remains Dustin Blattner. They're the top 5 across the classes, with Chris Lullam, of course, second overall. Lawrence Leclerc at 4th overall. They're the gold and silver class leaders. They're about to come through and put 8 laps in the book. So Ben Green, just over a second to the good. Big effort there on the inside going down towards turn 1. That is Sven Muller on the inside. It's Calvin van der Linde on the outside. This is for 6th, and the BMW goes through. So Calvin van der Linde goes up ahead of the car that won yesterday. Muller thinks about fighting back, thinks better of it.
Yeah, it's good power from the BMW out of turn 1. Muller tried to hip and shoulder him, but the BMW is a large object to move out the way, and the Porsche didn't seem to have the power to move it sideways, and van der Linde is on the move. Next target, Goethe. They had contact yesterday. There will be no love lost between that BMW M4 in orange and the orange and blue McLaren 720S.
Now, right now, the lead gap hovering around the 11/10ths margin. Mauro Engel in the Mercedes coming up onto the back of Sven Muller for 7th place. Engel winner at Brands, wanting to try to wriggle away by and think points for the long term here. Reigning Sprint Cup champions. There's a bit of a gap on the inside. Engel tries to have a nibble, but the Porsche just able to keep that door closed, but only just.
Yes, Muller's got no pace whatsoever at the moment. Temperatures higher than yesterday, 37.5 degrees track temperature, 18 ambient. That's roughly 10 to 15% hotter. So that Porsche doesn't seem to be happy right now and can't stick with the pace of the leading bunch.
Up they come towards turn 13 then. So Mauro Engel may well have to rely on the Winwood Racing pit crew to give him a place. It is tough to overtake around here, partly because of the nature of the circuit, partly because the BOP is so good that all the cars are running on a similar pace, so there's nothing really demonstrably quicker or slower than another brand. Up to turn 1 they go. Lead gaps come down, so Ben Green, with this penalty to serve, now has 0.8 of a second of a margin. That's all it was, over a second. And Lullam and Pepper, for the moment, not squabbling. That's not really helping Ben Green.
No, Lullam and Pepper both doing their fastest laps of the race respectively as well on the last lap. So those cars are starting to come alive, and we see that as well, don't we, over the race. Some cars start strong and some start to get better towards the end of their stint. That can be many factors that I won't bore you with, but at the moment, 2nd and 3rd place seem to be coming alive.
So through goes Sven Muller. Mauro Engel hunting him down. Sven Muller, very much a Porsche specialist. Mauro Engel has been a loyal servant of the Mercedes-AMG brand now for a long time, after his spell in V8 Supercars in Australia, as he comes then now up through the turn 8, 9, 10 sequence of corners. Now Calvin van der Linde up into 6th, and he's closing on Benji Goethe. Factor into this the fact that the BMW looks racier today and how good WRT is in the pits. I wouldn't rule that car out from making further progress before the end.
I totally agree on that. Garage 59 did have a slow pit stop with their McLaren yesterday, so that could hurt them. We've got some very fast team with the pit stops. WRT are definitely one of the top, if not the best. You've got Rutronic as well with the Porsche. Grasser were very fast at Brands Hatch, so there's a lot to play for halfway through this race, and the pit window will be open in just under 9 minutes' time.
There you're looking at the Bronze Cup leader then, so Dustin Blattner is away and gone as far as Zizek Tutumlu is concerned. He's a long way clear. And then it is Renat Salyakov in third place as the field comes up to the end of lap number 10. As Joe says, we're getting closer to that pit window opening. And right now, the very impressive Dustin Blattner, one of the shinier bronze drivers, well in command of the class. But for the race lead now, it is game on. Ben Green can't get away from Chris Lullam. Jordan Pepper is still there with them, thinking, right, let's just see for a lap or so what these two team, in quotes, mates are going to do.
Yeah, I've just spotted Lullam's mirror, actually. It's on the exit of turn 3 on the right-hand side. I think that was lap 1. I think that's how close he was with Ben Green. We didn't follow the shot through on lap 1, but I think that's where that mirror's gone. And they want to retrieve it because it's €3,500, but it will be hurting him every time he turns right. He won't be able to have that sort of natural glance into his right mirror to see where Pepper is. At the moment, it's not a problem. Pepper roughly 9/10 of a second behind as it stands, but that will hurt as we go back on board with Jordan Pepper. Let's have a look at the onboard. His arms are calm at the moment. Let's watch as he goes through the chicane. What's the balance of the car? Have we got understeer? We have to turn much. We have to catch oversteer. He's able to place the car perfectly, aggressively on the throttle. It's a fair amount of steering lock and great traction. There was the throttle, 550 horsepower roughly coming from this V10 Huracan, and it goes through the high-speed corners looking well balanced too. You can get a race car that's mega in slow speed but terrible at high speed and vice versa. But at the moment, that Grasser Lamborghini handling like a dream.
In terms of lap times, fastest lap of the race at the moment to Lawrence Leclerc. Ben Green, the second fastest lap. Jordan Pepper, the third. Sven Muller, the fourth fastest, even though he's recently lost a place. And Lawrence Leclerc has just gone even faster. In fact, as he comes across the line, he's now done a 1:36.426 to go even faster than the graphic was showing from a lap before. So Lawrence Leclerc are well clear in the Silver Cup at the moment. There's the leading trio once again coming off turn 3. This is lap number 12. Fourth is Leclerc. In fifth place, it's Goethe there a little way back. He's still under attack from Calvin van der Linde, and that shows you the Green to Lullam situation, with Chris Lullam's last 3 laps being quicker than Ben Green. The gap is right down, but when Lullam gets stuck, that allows Pepper to close, and Pepper gets stuck, that allows Leclerc to close.
Yes, definitely breaking away from the 5th place car, Goethe at the moment, and Leclerc the fastest there. All of those fastest times that came up on the AWS graphic, less than a 1/10 apart. Get your stopwatch out on your phone and try and stop your stopwatch under a 1/10, and you've got 4 cars doing those lap times that closely. Pepper, the closest he's been.
And Leclerc drops off the back of the train for the moment. So can Jordan Pepper think about a move down to turn 11? Well, he can think about it. Is there the room? Not really. So he has to try and force the mistake out of Chris Lullam that doesn't come there. Pepper really late into the chicane. Straddles the curb, comes out the other side. Suddenly Ben Green gains a length. The onboard you're looking at is Maxime Austin, who is closing up to the back of Compact. This is Pepper's view on the main screen as he comes now through turn 14 up toward the line. So it is Ferrari, Lamborghini, this very Italian front to the grid with 5 minutes before the pit window opens. Down they head towards turn 1. Ben Green, the race leader. The margin was 4/10 last time. It's half a second of this, and Lullam late on the brakes claws it all right back, taking Jordan Pepper with him for good measure.
Yeah, it's horse versus bull at the front, isn't it? As more bodywork gets shot off. I didn't see any contact between anyone, so maybe that was a part that just decided it wanted freedom. These cars under so much load, smashing over curbs. It's easy to dislodge bodywork, especially the rear diffuser. The strakes that help channel that air can get knocked off.
And Chris Lullam is also being given a 10-second penalty for jumping the starts. He was alongside Ben Green, so they've both been done for it. So also as Jesse Salmonautio in the Chevrolet. So now Ben Green starts to jump away. This is very bad news in many respects for Emil Frey, because they're going to have to make longer pit stops anyway, and their pit stops have traditionally been, on occasions, less good, shall we say, than one or two others.
I don't know if I agree with that penalty. Both front row cars getting done. It's almost like the race director, Neil Visser, saying it was premeditated by Emil Frey. What does he want Lullam to do? If Ben Green is accelerating early, he wants him just to wait for the green lights in the whole inside row. He could be down in 12th place by turn 1. Not sure what evidence they've seen to give that to both cars. Jordan Pepper, race leader.
Indeed so, because they'll have to serve those penalties in the pit stops. Jordan Pepper is going to be able to buy himself to the front of the grid. Here's the replay of the start. Talk us through it.
So they're accelerating before the lights have gone green. I get that. Maybe Lulham's penalty there is for not being over the grid boxes. So they're two separate penalties, I think, there. It is saying jump start, but Ben Green's done the jump. I get that bit. But like I said, I don't see how Lulham's going, but he definitely wasn't going over the grid boxes like it says in the director's briefing notes.
So the Emil Frey racing team will be exercised about this, no question about it. Ben Green will be pushing as the cars come up towards turn 3 once again. So for the moment, the real battle, I suppose, is Jordan Pepper versus Laurens Leclerc, which is Pro versus Silver. Laurens Leclerc having the race of his life as far as GT3 is concerned. The Corvette goes through there. That's another car that's copped a penalty. Jesse Salmon out to go 13th on the racetrack right now. They need a safety car in the second stint, don't they? Get the penalty done and then have everybody bunch up. But even with that, you've seen how troubled it can be, how difficult it can be to do the overtaking and get through the traffic.
Yeah, super tough round here. Everyone is trying to hold their piece of real estate, and the Corvette doing that, currently doing it well, but that penalty will put them down the order as well. It's a shame, 4th place in the silver class. It's the strongest we've seen from that stellar Chevrolet Corvette, but they're going to be well down the order after that shuffles down. Ben Green getting caught by Lulham. It's hard to look at this at the moment because they've both got 10-second penalty, which will put them outside the top 12 respectively at the moment.
A little hat tip for Louis Pret after his grassy moment on the first lap. He's got himself back up into 29th. He's cleared pretty much all bar one of the Bronze Cup cars. So good recovery this by Louis Pret as the leading train comes again up towards turn 14. Ben Green just cannot get away, can he, as they come up towards the line. Then you've got Lulham in second, Pepper in third, Leclerc in fourth, Goethe in fifth, Kelvin van der Linde in sixth, behind Kelvin van der Linde, Sven Muller in seventh, Mauro Engel is eighth, Vincent Abril is ninth, and then 10th is Ezequiel Perez Compact. You're back on board with Jordan Pepper, hustling the car through Tarzan, back onto the power now. 7/10 of a second covering the top 3.
Yeah, we are getting confirmation from race control that Ben Green was a jump start, accelerating too early, but the 69 Lulham car was out of position, same for the Corvette. So 2 separate penalties happening at the start for Emil Frey.
Back on board with Pepper then, down towards turn 7, go through the Rob Slottermacher box, through the Hunsrug crest. This is turn 7, and that rather elasticated situation between the leaders. On some laps the gaps come down, on other laps the gaps stretch out. But what is undeniable is those Ferraris cannot shake off the Lamborghini, and equally Green can't shake off his teammate.
Yeah, we've got a huge amount of manufacturers inside that top 8 battle. Interestingly, Vincent Abril not able to stay with them. He caught up when they battled slightly, but not there. Our race 1 winners from Brands Hatch. We know how fast Abril and his teammate Rivera can be at the moment. Lulham still putting in green sectors. He's the only guy inside the top 20 still with some pace to improve on. And yeah, it's going to be gutting for him when he watches that replay back to see himself not going over the grid boxes, which has attracted the 10-second penalty. And that will be served in the pit stop, like we said at the start. The team won't be able to touch the car for 10 seconds, and that will feel like an eternity.
And as you made the point, the 2 parallel lines going over the grid boxes is always explained in the driver's briefing. There's an illustration of what the race director requires, so it's not that it's a surprise. Now Jordan Pepper is about to have a go. Is he for second place? He's done it once. It briefly worked, but he has a look to the inside at Tarzan. It does not pay out for him on this lap. And as soon as Lulham has to defend, so Ben Green just gains a length or so up the road. Laurens Leclerc is 4th, small gap back to 5th. Benji Goethe 6th is Kelvin van der Linde. That's your fight for 7th on board with Engel. He's 8th, looking for the gap on the inside. Sven Muller goes up wide. Engel tries to get to the inside. Doesn't work.
So hard to make work. 19 degrees of camber there. It just favours the outside. You can see the Porsche now of Muller. Is that a lot of smoke coming from the right-hand side? There's some kind of fire going on there. I don't think it's tyre smoke. Looked like it was coming from the front right corner of the car. That's where the exhaust sits in the Mercedes, into that sill. Is it touching the carbon? Is it starting to burn? It's cleared now. That was a scary moment as we rode on board. The smoke engulfing the cockpit is luckily cleared. They may be pitting at the end of this lap. The pit window is open. They might be able to address that, but the car will only be stationary for around 18 seconds.
And no doubt Engel will have been on the radio. The team will be looking at all the data that they have got as well to see if there's anything they can quickly pinpoint as the cause of that and therefore find a solution to it.
I hope it was just maybe a bit of pickup getting flung up from the front tyre, as we said, of a debris flag into turn 11 there. Hopefully it was just some rubber burning off. Pit window open. I expect Pepper to box opposite to the Ferrari. So if they stay out, he'll come in, and vice versa.
Right, I was going to say, let's see who comes out of the traffic then, because this could be the time to pit. The pit window is open then, and because we have these split pit windows, it's for the silvers and the bronzes. So that means that in comes Laurens Leclerc to get out of the draft, to get the stop done. So silvers and bronzes, that means that the pros and the Gold Cup cars carry on for another 5 minutes. So normally it's a 10-minute window. It is 10 minutes as a combined window, if you like, but it's 5 minutes per group, so you've got less time to do the stops than normal. How about this? Maxime Osten almost pushing Ezekiel Perez compact down the pit lane.
Very, very tight comes to the stop. Driver change 4 tyres. Only 2 mechanics and 1 wheel gun allowed. We're seeing sub 20 seconds as the Paradigm team get to work. They've already changed the right side. They've now got onto the front left. Driver change going on at the same time. 52 car coming out. Jeff McKeel's getting out of the car, plugging the driver in as quickly as they can. And this is going to get frantic for the next 7 minutes or so in pit lane.
So back on track there is Ivan Klimenko, takes over from Laurens Leclerc in the Santalot Racing Audi. Maxime Osten will give the BMW to Max Janssen, his co-driver. And because the silvers are natural pit stops, in other words, as quick as you can, then those cars stealing the march over the bronzes. The bronze pit stop has to be done to a regulation time, and that is why those cars partly going to be in the pit lane for longer, but also then fall out of the equation to a degree because they've got this 64-second pit stop to make.
Yeah, we saw that losing them roughly 14 seconds yesterday over their nearest competitors. Actually saw CompTIA doing a 48-second stop. That's from pit entry to pit exit. So that was a very, very good stop from the CompTIA Aston Martin team.
So the field pouring its way through turn 1, and now, of course, for Ben Green, not only is he trying to shake off the traffic that's wanting to take the lead from him, he's also got back markers to worry about as the silvers and the bronzes rejoin the race after the stop. Kelvin van der Linde just gets ahead there. Look of number 81, now Gabriele Piana at the wheel. Mauro Engel tries to clear that car as well. So it's another Winwood Racing Mercedes. Piana on his outlap. Here comes Engel. He gets up alongside the other Mercedes AMG and then gets stuck behind the Porsche, but Engel wriggles away by. This is where we saw the smoke a lap ago. Looks all right this time.
Really does, doesn't it? He had momentum, but not space to run into. He would have had to lift out the throttle or far through the back of Sven Muller. Decided the first option was probably the more safer one for that car. Still don't think these guys are going to be able to pit. They've got another lap to do after this one. Pepper will be frustrated by these 2 cars that on the timing aren't there. They're 10 seconds further back, remember, as we look at van der Linde. Made that move on Muller, but hasn't really been able to make inroads on Ben Gigot. So we're not going to see fireworks like we saw yesterday between those 2.
Fastest lap of the race, still that of Laurens Leclerc, but straight away after the driver changes, you've got people doing absolute best sectors. People like Alex Arca, people like Max Janssen doing sectors 2 and 3 better than anybody in the entire race, and that's fresh into the car. And remember, they've done no driving all day. The incoming driver now has not driven since yesterday afternoon.
Yeah, that's the hard bit, straight in, and you just got to hope for the best. 991 BMW there, just dropping a wheel on entry. That would have definitely woken up Farfus in that sense. And now Piana goes to the inside. This is the bronze class battle going into turn 1. The power of the BMW versus the aerodynamic grip of the Mercedes there. The 2 strengths side by side. The BMW tucks in behind.
So Jordan Pepper, third, still 9/10 of a second only away from the lead car. The top 2 both with 10-second penalties to serve in the pits. That's not just going to cost them the lead, that's going to cost them a place in the top dozen. It's going to be a very, very long stop. There is also an incident for the Lurk Hartog Isha Pires Porsche, a pit lane infringement that's been noted by race control. So we'll keep that story in our minds as well as you look there at number 112 McLaren turning through. That's Arthur Rougier at the wheel, and he is another of those in the Bronze Cup. So right now he's got himself up with the Barwell Lamborghini. Up the inside he goes, wriggles away through and takes the plate away.
Yeah, nice move. I love when you see the exit of these corners and the cars putting down a set of 11s as they accelerate. Super hard traction control on these cars, but they're so complex these days. They allow the perfect amount of slip, and here are the race leaders.
new fastest lap of the race. Max Janssen, who is currently in 19th place, but he has done a 1:34.9 as the best lap. Green, Lullen, Pepper behind them in 4th place. Benji Goethe almost there. I still think a dark horse for a win might yet be the Calvin van der Linde Charles Wirtz BMW that is currently 5th on the road. He's going to gain with the penalties for the Emil Frey Ferraris and with the good pit work from WRT. In comes Green, Lullen stays out. In comes Pepper, in comes Goethe, in comes the BMW van der Linde, in comes Engel. So Chris Lullen now does lead. Split strategy for Emil Frey. In other words, put the cars on different laps so you're not double stacking. So is this race going to develop into a battle between number 63 Lamborghini and 32 BMW? We'll find out after this round of pit stops.
Race on pit road, WRT actually driving through the Winwood Mercedes pit box. That would have been predetermined from the teams, helps them both out. Which colour car are we going to see to get into pit lane first? Remember that yellow Mercedes caused a collision with the GRT car. It was Engel versus Pepper. You can see Engstler now in pit road. They're all going to drop. WRT are going to be in front by the looks of it.
WRT win on the pit stops yet again. So Charles Wirtz jumps through ahead of Luca Engstler. That's going to put them into the race lead. Fantastic pit work again by WRT. It was a good stop by Grasser. It wasn't a shabby stop for Garage 59 nor Winwood Racing, but you can see the margin already that Charles Wirtz has got. He's back on track. And that is going to be absolutely vital. Now, the other car to keep an eye on is 26 Audi, which has now got the silver-graded Ivan Klimenko behind the wheel, but he's about to have a really tough fight to keep all of these platinum-graded drivers at bay.
Yeah, he nearly got the undercut, though. He was right on the back of Charles Wirtz as he got up to speed in that 32 BMW. Look how close they are. That was nearly for the overall race lead. Once everyone has pitted, Charles Wirtz is now going to get going. He's going to get his head down, and he's going to try and keep his right foot planted and get a gap over everyone. But their pit stop from WRT, 3.5 seconds quicker than anyone else they were battling.
They are just fabulous in the pits, aren't they, WRT? We say time after time after time. The Engel, now Lucas Auer Mercedes being looked at for the pit lane speed. Whether it was in or out, we aren't being told, but come what may, the pit speed has been noted. So now Charles Wirtz presses on as Chris Lullen pits out of the notional lead. Sven Muller is in as well. Now we need to see this car rejoin. Don't forget it's got the extra 10 seconds to serve. Then the pit stop can happen. It was another one done. It says jump start. That's what race control have issued, but we've been told it was an out of position start rather than a jump. But Chris Lullen now gives way to Thierry Vermeulen. So big, big disappointment for the Emil Frey squad. It was a race that could have netted so much. Away goes Patrick Niederhauser's Porsche then. Winner yesterday down the pit lane. In comes the McLaren of Louis Pret in the background. Sandy Mitchell is also in. Jens Klingman's BMW is in. So the shuffle continues. Niederhauser's going to drop behind Pepper, and also, by the look of it, behind Marvin Kirchhoff's McLaren. And there's the Porsche now slotting in just behind Lucas Auer.
Yeah, so he's jumped him in the pit stop. Interestingly, that Mercedes 48 was saying too fast in the pit lane. That's what happened to Mara Engel in qualifying this morning. So they've got form, so maybe it's an issue with where they've set the limit, getting too greedy, setting it too high up. But yeah, super interesting to see what this Audi can do. Luca Engstler is going to be reeling him. Kirchhoff is staying on the back of that Lamborghini.
Fastest lap of the race now, Arthur Rougier's McLaren. He is in 28th place overall, but second in bronze, and a 5-second time penalty to the number 48 Mercedes for speeding in the pit lane. Yesterday they copped a penalty in the race for an unsafe release. Today it's for speeding. And as Joe rightly says, they also were in strife with that this morning. So maybe there is something with the way that limiter has been set. Next one for the pit lane look here comes Vincent Abril, winner at Brands Hatch in the opening race of the season. He will give way to Alessio Rivera. They didn't finish yesterday's race, so they need a good result here for points.
Yeah, they certainly do. And AF have been very quick on the pit stop. And Abril will be getting out, Rivera getting in. They've got a chance, but they just didn't seem to have the pace there as we look back with the car that's got 5 seconds, this yellow Mercedes. Now with Lucas Auer behind the wheel. We had that strange incident with Engel early on, didn't we, with the smoke into the cockpit. But it must have just been a piece of rubber, some discarded tyre debris, got stuck on the exhaust just behind the front wheel and then burnt itself off. Charles Wirtz pulling away. It looks like the Audi's doing a pretty good job of Klimenko at the moment. Doesn't look like Engstler's getting that much on him, although on the last lap it was just under a second gain by Engstler.
Yeah, I think it's going to be when, not if, Luca Engstler finds a way through. With all due deference to Ivan Klimenko, he has not done as much racing at this level as many of those around him. He did race in GT World Challenge Europe last year, but the silver-graded driver now up against these manufacturer work drivers or platinum-graded drivers. and you can see on that graphic just how quick the WRT pit stop was over everybody else. You struggle to find anybody else with a 4 at the front of the number, don't you?
Yeah, it's really only come to you below. We saw it was Kobe Powell's getting the car. I thought it had a good pit stop, but WRT keep raising the bar, and when this is such a competitive series on track, any positives you can find, and finding 3+ seconds in the pit stop is a pretty big one.
Yeah, so you rule out WRT at your peril. Kelvin van der Linde, Charles Weerts, a very good combination, of course, for Charles. He's now driving with Kelvin for the first time.
We're on it, don't worry about it, we're on it. Eyes forward, do your job.
So Charles Weerts having something that he's not happy with. It might be the traffic ahead, but just press on with the job. The point I was trying to make before the team radio was that the Charles Weerts-Kelvin van der Linde combination is a new one this year, rather than Charles Weerts and Dries van Thor. 3 times they won the Sprint Cup together. Kelvin has been drafted in the past for endurance events, but they're having to adapt to one another, and the combination seems to be working really nicely.
Really, really well. And, punchy race yesterday for the car, but now it's leading. And yeah, Charles Weerts just telling his engineer, Will McKelvey, just make sure race control get the blue flags out. And Will quite rightly keeping him calm, saying it's a hard job. You concentrate on the bit driving around in circles, and we'll do all the hard work.
Last lap from Luca Engschler, who is in 3rd place. He was only about 4 tenths quicker, if that, than Ivan Klimenko. So he's finding it harder to move himself through into 2nd place. You get the feeling that if and when the Audi is dislodged, others might come flooding past. But right now, Klimenko is doing a really good job, very impressively hanging on to 2nd overall in the lead in silver. But that might be changing imminently. Look, Luca Engschler, who made his name initially in touring cars, winning in Malaysia, in Asia, for example, in TCR rule set. He is right there behind, and then on his tail is Kirchhofer, on his tail is Auer, who's got a penalty, and then Niederhauser is next. So the leading battle here, 2nd to 6th as one.
I think there'll be some drivers needing some Vaseline here. They'll be licking their lips at the delight here. The Audi is really going to be a cork in the bottle for them. And I think Kirchhofer is going to be looking to get a move done on Engschler. If Engschler has another sort of half look, then Kirchhofer will look for a cutback to get the momentum and blast past. But that Audi is strong in that middle sector. It's actually pulled away from that Lamborghini we're looking at the moment of Engschler.
Up to the end of the lap they come then, so Luca Engschler still hanging on to 3rd place. You're on board now with Lucas Auer coming out of 14. The road flips you back level, just about, and then you go thundering down to turn 1.
Yeah, you can see the mirrors shaking around, and we're not able to see that McLaren in a straight line. Look at the Concertina up, the Mercedes placing it lovely on the apex curb. Has obviously got good front end grip. Front engine cars generally have a better weight distribution, front to rear axle, and that is one of their strengths. And that's what I love about GT racing. We have 10 different manufacturers in this race, and doesn't matter which one you've picked, it feels like you could win in any of them.
Now there is number 69 Ferrari, Thierry Vermeulen at the wheel, still leading gold. Such was the margin that Chris Lallam had over the class opposition that even though the car has dropped to 13th, they are still leading the Gold Cup. And if you're wondering what happened to Ben Green's car, now with Consta Lapalainen at the wheel, it is in 11th place. But about the one consolation, and it's a really teeny tiny consolation for Emil Frey, is that they are still leading gold.
Yeah, and Lallam's going to be distraught with himself. A rookie mistake, you make a mistake once and you learn from it. He's a bright lad, and I'm sure he won't do the same again. We do have that Audi in front as well, the back marker car, the 27 car from Qatar. That could come into play here. It is run by the same team that the Klimenko Santalot car, so they might have some team radio between them where they can at least organise him getting out of the way. But that could be a potential issue for these guys.
And this is the end of lap number 24 with just under 21 minutes to go. The leading gaggle comes through, and while the Audi of Ivan Klimenko is that sort of cork in the bottle, so Charles Weerts is being able to build that lead. He comes over the timing line with 39 minutes and 27 seconds of the race done. Klimenko, you've got to say, is being really impressive because despite the fact he's got some star names behind him, he's not putting wheels out of line, he's not locking up, he's not making mistakes. He's doing a really good job. Alex Arca up into 7th. Significance, that's for 2nd in silver. He's got ahead of Max Janssen now. So Alex Arca's Audi into 2nd in silver. He's not going to get anywhere near Klimenko, I rather doubt, unless I think Klimenko has a big problem towards the end. But it'll be good points in silver for Arca and Compank.
Yeah, he's been fast all weekend as well, Alex Arca. And yeah, Max Jensen had a very quick start to the stint, setting purple sectors. Did he burn through those tyres a bit? But the four-wheel drift there from the 48-man filtered yellow Mercedes. He's on the back of Kirchhofer, though Kirchhofer not able really to stick with Engstler as much as I thought he was going to at the start. And actually, Niederhauser is starting to fight back.
Yeah, Niederhauser's going to inherit the place anyway with the Lucas Hour time penalty. But Arca and Janssen and possibly even Jamie Day will benefit. I know there's still 19 minutes to go, and therefore gaps can open up. But right now, Auer is set to lose quite a lot of ground, given how tight it is behind him. Battle on here. Gabriele Piana in the Winward Racing Mercedes, ahead of Augusto Farfus in the Paradigm BMW, and then Bastien Bus, who was on pole position outright yesterday. This, therefore, is third, fourth, fifth in bronze. Mercedes, AMG, BMW, and then Porsche.
Yeah, the Porsche boost caught them by 0.7 of a second, and this battle's been raging on for the last 7 or 8 laps. Last time we saw it, they were side by side at turn 1, but Farfus doesn't have the ability to get past. As we see, the top speed is in that Farfus car, the fastest car, 261 kilometers an hour from the McLaren of Rouget, then an Audi, then 2 Porsches, one of them being Boost. So 2 of the fastest 4 cars are nose to tail with that graphic sponsored by AWS.
They come down now towards the chicane at turns 11 and 12 with 18 minutes and change on the clock. Augusto Farfus, amazingly enough, making his Sprint Cup debut this weekend. We've seen him in Endurance, we've seen him in Intercontinental GT Challenge and the WEC and the DTM, but he'd never done a Sprint Cup round, and rather enjoying himself. He has won the single driver GT race on the streets of Macau in the past, and here with Darren Lung, and he was very complimentary about Darren yesterday. He is currently running 4th in that Bronze Cup. That's your bronze leader. That's Dennis Marshall, who has taken over from Dustin Blattner. And these two spend a lot of the winter racing with one another in Asian Le Mans, for example, so they've got a good working relationship. They also drove the Kessel Ferrari in Asian Le Mans during the winter months, so that continuity moves on into this championship season. Driver combination, car, team combination, and it all builds very nicely.
Yeah, they were very quick yesterday. You can see the black bumper. That's because of damage sustained in race 1, lap 1, where he got turned around and got a puncture, in fact, had to pit a whole extra stop over everyone, and they still finished third. That's how strong they were. At the moment, they're cruising in first place. Kirchhofer much closer to the back of Engstler now. Klimenko doing a mega job. You wouldn't look at that battle pack and go, he's the silver driver there. No. He's really steadied his own ship over the last 4 or 5 laps, but he has got that back marker Audi to contend with.
Indeed he has then. So Rami Al Mahmoud is going to be negotiating shortly the category driver in the Santa Lot Run car. Same team that operates the Klimenko-Lequetua car. Behind Ivan Klimenko it remains Engstler, Kirchhofer, Auer with a penalty, Niederhauser, small gap, Arca, and then Janssen with Jamie Day, Lucas Stolz rounding out the top 10 on the road. Patrick Niederhauser's Porsche today doesn't look quite as competitive as it did yesterday. And there, look, Engstler has another think about a move down towards turn 9. Couldn't quite squeeze up the inside, but not for the want of trying. Arthur Rougier, the fastest driver, equal by Charles Witz and Max Janssen at turn 14, the last corner on the lap. And now, again, they all start to queue up behind Klimenko's Audi. Down they come towards the chicane at turns 11 and 12, but the Lamborghini just not near enough to make a move.
No, very similar cars. The chassis and engine almost identical between the Lamborghini and that Audi. We keep talking about that Audi. It's starting to become slightly obsolete. GT Racing Audi Sport, the most dominant GT3 manufacturer in history, decided they don't want to continue with this project, so some teams now have to go it alone. Santalog have been world class for many years, and that's why they're able to keep this old, I say, in inverted commas, car at the front. Second place, first in class still at the moment.
Out of Tarzan, second and third. Ivan Klimenko having the race of his life here, keeping Engstler at bay, who is keeping Kirchhofer at bay, who is keeping Auer at bay, who is keeping Niederhauser at bay, who is being caught by Alex Arca, because Arca is able to lap in the 35s. They're all in the 36s ahead because they're stuck in traffic. And is this the chance Engstler needs? He comes off turn 3 much closer to the back of the Santa Lock Audi. You're on board now with Luca Engstler, second generation racer. His father Franz Engstler, a real hero in single-seaters turned touring cars, goes now out of turn 7. Engstler's got the pace, no doubt about it. He just needs to try and force a tiny mistake out of Klimenko and then pounce. He's good through 8. Can he duck up the inside at 9? This is where he's got to start to pounce. Can't do it again.
Looks like that Audi's struggling with rear grip. You can see it have a big slide through turn 8. Not able to get it into the apex as much as the Lamborghini as we're on board with. But where does he make his move? It doesn't look like the Audi's got a major weakness at any point. I think Enxler just needs to be there. And if there's a missed apex from the Audi, then he places the car down the inside as we go back to this bronze car battle, and it's livened up a bit. We've got Engelhardt in the Lamborghini now behind Booth, so it's going to be a 4-car battle. At the moment, Piano is playing a good note and is running wide though, and that's going to give Farfus a chance to get the drive.
Piano runs wide, Farfus behind him, then it's Booth, then it's Engelhardt, then 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th they run within bronze. Behind them is Loris Spinelli, but he's got a penalty as well for an earlier infringement. Gabriele Piano, who's been on track already today in GT4, has a slight advantage, therefore, that he's a bit more match fit, if you like. He's already been on track, he's been racing, whereas everybody else in this stint fresh into a car. Farfus tucked up behind him. Booth rather cheekily goes to the inside line. Christian Engelhardt, who's an old hand, of course, in GT terms, is right there as well. 2017, you go back to, Christian Engelhardt won the Blockpan Endurance Series. He's been a German GT champion, and there he is on the back of Bastian Booth. 2 years ago, Bastian was Porsche Super Cup champion, so he does specialise in Porsches, and he's got good pace in that car, no question about it. But let's see whether he can fend off Engelhardt to the very end.
Yeah, for the final podium position, this 4-car battle. So it means a lot to these drivers. It's interesting as a racing driver, the biggest overtake is always 2nd to 1st, and then it's 4th to 3rd. Interestingly, 3rd to 2nd, but not as an important change because it gets you that final podium position when you do get that 3rd one. The BMW Farfus tucked up in the rear wing. The Piana knows that, goes to the inside, covers it off. Is Farfus going to dart to the inside? He decides not to, but I think that's where the move will eventually come, if it does.
Nose to tail, they come off the corner then. Piana just ahead. Farfus ahead of them both is Christian Bogle, and there side by side Auer and Niederhauser. The Porsche was level, but it could not make the move stick, so Lucas Auer hanging on to 5th on the road. Niederhauser getting more and more frustrated here. He's going to gain that place on corrected time, but he wants to get past, and he might be able to have a go at the others up the road. Lucas Auer is doing what he has to do, and that's defend. He doesn't want to be giving away places, but he's dropped off the back a little bit. All it took was one corner of skirmishing, and they've fallen off the back of Kirchhofer, who is now released to attack Enxler, who has to go defensive, and the McLaren quivering under braking there as Kirchhofer stood on the brakes. Enxler comes out of the hairpin, and while all of that is going on, still 2nd is Klimenko.
Yeah, it looked like Kirchhofer pulled the handbrake up on that McLaren. It squirreled its way under braking. Quite a bizarre sight for a modern GT3 car. He must have been hard on the brakes, and the rear brakes getting hotter, and they get grabbier and grabbier, so the rear brakes locking. And that then obviously goes through to the tyre. Yes, Niederhaus must be frustrated. It's like Lucas Auer's just a ghost there. He is there, but he's not really there. He needs to get the vacuum cleaner and suck him out the way.
The Mercedes then comes off turn 7, lap number 30. Lest you forget, Charles Witz is still leading the race by 8.7 seconds. He just cleared off up the road as Enxler again feints to the inside line at 9. Still can't do it. That gives Kirchhofer renewed optimism now because he's right on the back of that slightly impeded Lamborghini. Auer tries to get up the inside of the McLaren as well as defend for the Porsche. They all run nose to tail off the corner. There's no change in the order. The frustration from Enxler, Kirchhofer, Auer, Niederhauser must be off the clock. They cannot find a way past the world's widest Audi that Ivan Klimenko resolutely and brilliantly, it's got to be said, keeps in 2nd place.
These guys are all on the top of their game. Factory drivers, they get paid as a living to do this, and they are hustling these cars hard. You watch the energy involved. The rear tyres are screaming, no more, no more. I can't last another 10 minutes, and that's what they're going to have to do. Tyre management may come into this. If you can look after the rear tyre, keep the traction better, you may get the drive on the car in front and gain that position. But the ebb and flow of the Audi just looks so strong at the moment.
Can you press informed, he was informed, but you know it's difficult. Keep cool, try to do it by yourself. All okay. You're doing outstanding job, perfect like this. For information, we have 13 minutes to go. Probably we will have 7 laps from now, 8 laps from now. Copy.
So the team's saying you're doing a great job, an outstanding job. There's no argument from up here either.
No, I think he was briefly talking about his teammate in front of him. The pace actually of Al Mahmoud has been strong, and he's in the 36s in that marooned coloured Audi in front. So I think he surely will get out of the way if it becomes an issue as we look at the 99 car of Alex Acker, second place in silver. He's going to catch this battle. The lead Audi in this is the lead, and that Qatari car has got out of the way rather aggressively. He's lost about 10 seconds in 2 corners. I'm surprised he managed to get out of the way so well.
Big challenge here. Farfus to the outside of Piana down at turn 1. The Mercedes stays ahead. Farfus could not quite make that work. So for third in bronze, no change. It's still the Mercedes AMG just ahead of that BMW up towards turn 3 now, where Farfus does not even consider going low. He knows that the high line is the better line. Bastien Boost in the Porsche, though, getting a little bit nearer. Of course, he would have raced here not only in GT, but also in Porsche Super Cup. So just getting himself a little bit closer with that extra track knowledge and the knowledge of where you can make the lines work for you. Up front, Charles Wirtz then has just gone across the line. He's put 31 laps in the book. He's nearly 11 seconds to the good from Klimenko, Engler, Kirchhofer, Auer and Niederhauser. Here, Farfus under attack from Boost, attacking Gabriele Piana, and they're also running now behind the Christian Bogle Silver Cup Lamborghini, the Barwell entry.
Yeah, which is 4th position, not in class, but overall, so this could spice it up a bit for this battle. Farfus, every time we see him, seems to try for the outside at 1. I know Piana's going to the inside, but I think he just needs to follow him over to the middle of the track and then see if he works his way back to the racing line. If you go around the outside, you're almost calling the bluff of the driver in front that I'm just going to run you out of road. He needs to just shove it down the inside and hope for the best.
In terms of Bronze Cup lap times, the fastest is Arthur Rougier, who's done the fastest lap of the race outright. Bastien Boost, the second best lap in bronze. Ricardo Feller for Lion Speed GT, the third fastest lap. Then Dennis Marshall and Dylan Pereira also doing good lap times within bronze. Leaders have then worked themselves onto lap number 32. Bit of a lockup from Engelhardt there going down towards Tarzan. That is Dylan Pereira. He's taken over from Andre Milkovoz. Behind him is Ricardo Feller in the Porsche. And right now, the car of Gabriele Piana, 31st in the race, getting closer to Christian Bogle. If he gets too close, it gets stuck. That then gives Farfus and Boost possibly a chance to have a proper challenge back at him. Piana on the lights then as the cars swoop their way up towards Hunsrück and then on towards the right of turn 7. So Charles Wirtz leads the way. We've got 7.5 minutes still to go. And what has turned out to be a very surprising second race. So much of it done on penalties and pit stops. And there, Luca Engler still can't get past Klimenko. And Kirchhofer is trying everything he can to dislodge that Lamborghini. That's enabled Klimenko to get away by a few lengths.
It has, and that is exactly what he wants to see. These cars running so close, considering how much of their lap time they generate from downforce, which obviously creates turbulent air. The positive is you get slipstream. The negative is you lose grip following this closely. The front end of the car is much more effective than the rear and dirtier, and it feels so difficult to get the car in. It's an unsure feeling. You're trying to just nurse the car in, but you're never quite sure what grip you've got underneath you. So to be able to run this close for this many laps is super impressive without a major mistake from any of these guys.
Up towards turn 9 they go. Kirchhofer covering off. Auer. Niederhauser is on the attack once again as well. Alex Archer chipping away. Of course, he needs to get through all of that traffic before he could attempt to challenge Klimenko for the silver win. So Klimenko's got a big buffer there, and a really outstanding drive this has been. If he's driver of the day, well, I can't think of anybody better, can you, at the moment, to take the mantle. It's been a mega drive. As again, Niederhauser tries to get up alongside the Mercedes AMG down towards turn 11. Lucas Auer puts the car exactly where he needs to be, hangs onto the place, and with just 6 minutes on the clock, they come up towards the end of lap number 33. It's still Charles Wirtz. After Kelvin van der Linde was stuck in traffic and had to work very hard in his stint, Charles Wirtz has just had a lonely half an hour.
Yeah, it's been a dream, hasn't it? We haven't seen him, so must mean he's having it easy, not even having any issues with traffic. We're hearing that 48 Mercedes, which has the 5-second penalty. It was on pit exit, so either it is the pit speed playing foul or the driver, Lucas Auer, just released the pit limit too early. But that has been a hard weekend for them with 2 different 5-second penalties in each race.
Absolutely right. An unsafe release yesterday, speeding today. And you can see as Niederhauser is on the back of Auer, and now Alex Archer has caught up as well, the number of places that are going to be lost. Now, Alex Archer is in silver, pro for Lucas Auer, but for an overall result, the number 48 Mercedes is going to drop and drop and drop as the cars then blast towards turn 7. There's 51, Alessio Rivera, 14th. Tough weekend for the AF Corsa team. The fastest top speed at turn 6, coming over that brow, Arthur Rougier. He's done the fastest lap, and his McLaren, you've got to say, he's absolutely flying. Almost every speed or lap time graphic we have, he's at the top of it.
Yeah, he's 6 kilometres an hour faster over the hill there at 6 before they hit the brakes into turn 7. Unfortunately, that doesn't always translate to the fastest over a lap. You can see them down in side 17.
To the chicane here comes number 21, that is Jamie Day. He's on the back of the Max Janssen BMW. Now this is the fight for third in silver, and the British driver Jamie Day in the Comptu Aston almost there then to try to wriggle away by, but the BMW has its strengths in certain parts of the lap, and here look, the gap stretches coming up towards the timing line once again. 4 minutes and change on the clock as the silvers come across the line. Behind them is Lukas Stolz, frustratingly down in 10th. Consta Lapalainen in 11th. Still gold, being led by Thierry Vermeulen from Leonardo Moncini, and then Al-Faisal Al-Zubar's BMW in 3rd in the class. Wirtz, though, strolling clear.
Yeah, and I think we should name check the actual crew on the 32. We mentioned Will McKelvey, the engineer, but the 2 mechanics, as we see Vincent Voss, team owner, team boss of WRT. Killian and Alex are the tyre and the gun guy. You've got Renaud on the lollipop and Mike on the lance. They're the 4 guys that have serviced that car quicker than any other team, which at the moment looks like it's going to hand WRT the win.
A couple of weeks ago, they opened their new headquarters, did WRT. They had lots of guests there, and at the end of the evening, you could have a walk round their very impressive facility and watch the guys practicing pit stops on a number of their GT3 BMWs. It is no wonder they're so good if they're practicing it after hours, so to speak, and as a public entertainment almost. No wonder they're so well drilled. Back on board with Auer.
Yeah, I can see Kirchhoff in front, the Mercedes losing slightly in a straight line, should gain at this point under braking through the corner. Mercedes always great over curbs. The damping on the car so impressive. Has to deal with a lot of energy at curb strike, so it has to go somewhere, and the damper is the best tool of dissipating that energy and then allowing the car to ride true. It takes a bit too much of the curb there at 13, and we actually went on the grass, and unfortunately the grass physically isn't as grippy as this sticky tarmac here at Zandvoort. As we see Bogle starting to hold up this train, Piana's still doing a good job of keeping Farfus behind, but at the moment Farfus doesn't seem to have an answer as we go with 2.5 minutes remaining.
Race leaders are on lap number 36 then. Charles Wirtz 12 seconds to the good now, as seemingly most of the Bronze Cup are all in this battle. It's 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th in the class, all running together. We have an incident between Alex Arca and Patrick Niederhauser that has been noted. That was down at the Tarzan hairpin, so Alex Arca trying to get through the traffic and discovering it's a lot tougher. There's your bronze leader, lest we forget, because Dennis Marshall is away and gone. Arthur Rougier is doing his best to get up with him.
We've already said what a good job that car's doing, but that has reeled in that battle in front. So the bronze car leader Dennis Marshall, now behind factory driver Sandy Mitchell, is got a hard decision to do here. Does he fight Sandy for 22nd overall, or does he consolidate his class lead in the Bronze Cup, which is the more important and the more obvious choice in my opinion?
That's Matthias Lismont in the Corvette going through. That was another car that was penalised. So 24th now is the Chevrolet. And Arthur Rougier second in bronze. 25th overall. Fastest lap of the race. Arthur Rougier is a much underrated driver. Very, very rapid. He drives. He helps run the CSA, Concept Sport Automobile team. And he's doing a really impressive job in whichever role he fulfills, you've got to say. There, a little bit of hip and shoulder as diving down towards the chicane goes Al-Faisal Al-Zubar, and that forces the Audi off the road. Back onto the racetrack there goes 25 Gilles Magnus. That was for 3rd in gold, and Al-Faisal Al-Zubar had the place at the start of the lap. He's retained it, but in rather uncompromising fashion. Last lap, you're looking at the leader, Charles Wirtz.
Blasts away, no traffic in front. Aston Martin's a back marker, so that's not for 2nd place either. And with the gap at over 12 seconds, he can really relax. None of these drivers can relax. It's quite the opposite. Is Klimliko going to be able to do enough? Is Alex Arca going to be able to put any pressure on Niederhaus in front?
Been a long, long time since we've had a silver crew on the podium. You've got to go back to, I think, 2022 for Mr. Power, Pierre-Alexandre Jean to find them. A drama amongst the Bronze Cup because that is Dylan Pereira in the gravel at turn 11. But Charles Weerts is on target for a race win. There are going to be yellow flags out at the turn 11-12 chicane. Charles Weerts leading Ivan Klimenko, leading Luca Engschler. The cars now come down towards the final sequence of corners, and there is the WRT run BMW. Kelvin van der Linde started it. Charles Weerts brings it home, and he's had a really, it seems, comfortable stint way up the road from anybody else. A brilliant drive by Klimenko, who is still hanging on to second place, and with those yellow flags out, it takes away an overtaking opportunity for those behind. Checkered flag at the ready. Charles Weerts, Kelvin van der Linde win at Zandvoort. The BMW victorious after a fascinating race. Wonderful pit stops from the WRT yet again. Bring that car through as a winner. Second place, the driver of the day, Ivan Klimenko, to win silver with Laurens Leclerc. Third goes the way of Luca Engschler and Jordan Pepper. Fourth, Marvin Kirchhofer and Benji Goethe. Fifth on the road, Lucas Auer and Maro Engel ahead of Patrick Niederhauser and Sven Müller, but then you put the penalty onto the Mercedes, and we'll wait and see where that drops. A win in gold to Thierry Vermeulen and Chris Lullam. We know about the silver winners, Laurens Leclerc and Ivan Klimenko, and bronze should go the way of Dennis Marshall and Dustin Blattner, the Ferrari, across the line. And a really, really impressive job done by not just them, but also the Kessel Racing team. For Charles Weerts, a 17th Sprint Cup win, a maiden win for Kelvin van der Linde, and for WRT, well, they just shrug, they've lost count.
Yeah, he's now only 2 behind Dries Vanthoor as well. Dries now in the championship, which feels like a bit of an oddity in itself. Kelvin van der Linde's 3rd win, his first since Zandvoort 2020. So, yeah, some good stats for WRT. They never stop winning.
You will have Dries Vanthoor on the grid for the CrowdStrike 24 Hours of Spa. Wouldn't be the same without him. So we'll have the regular cars for Endurance Cup, plus Valentino Rossi, Kevin Magnussen, Rene Rast entry, and then Dries Vanthoor in a 5th car. So it's a mega lineup. 76 cars on the entry list. We have the Monza endurance race in 2 weeks' time, and then at the end of June, the CrowdStrike 24 Hours of Spa. It is going to be, whatever the next one is from Awesome going up, it's just going to be an outstanding race because the entry is mind-blowing. Offline, look how much dust is kicked up by that BMW on the in-lap here. Charles Weerts, Kelvin van der Linde victorious in race 2 at Zandvoort. The car may not have looked all that flash in qualifying, but when it counts, through it has come, bearing in mind that it started 9th on the grid.
Yeah, insane. And that's where it's a team sport. We say it so often. Great job by both drivers, but even more better job by WRT. And yeah, we need a superlative for WRT's pit stops, but also Spa 24.
Absolutely. But on the subject of superlatives, what about Ivan Klimenko? What a drive that was to hang on to 2nd place overall with all of those star names around him. Did not put a wheel wrong. Just a mighty, mighty effort. And if there's a race in a driver's career where, for want of a better phrase, they come of age, for Ivan Klimenko, that's it.
Yeah, I totally agree. He didn't put a foot wrong, and the pressure that he had behind him. And let's not forget his teammate Leclerc was so quick at the start as well. He went there to the team have got a good car. 2 cars that did put some feet wrong are those 2 Emerald Frey Ferraris in shot. What could have been for that team? And
you almost want to take a result like that and say to the Audi board, have you seen what your cars are still doing? I mean, look what they can still do. It's an astonishing effort, because don't forget that it was an Audi that won in silver yesterday. Kelvin van der Linde rushes over to Charles Weerts to say, well done. We'll have our winning cars from the different categories to the presentation and Parc Fermé area. Charles Weerts, Kelvin van der Linde, then a first victory for them as a partnership in Sprint Cup. Excellent stuff from the pair. And a very, very happy WRT team on not quite home, but neighbouring soil. The Belgian team at the Benelux track coming home victorious. Charles Weerts hasn't even had time to take his crash helmet off yet. Helmet off, he's so busy celebrating. And Ivan Klimenko, you think he'd won the race? Well, he has in silver, 2nd overall. Just an outstanding effort. Brilliant stuff.
Yeah, so good to see what it means to these young drivers. Their dream will be to be a professional driver, and as a silver, you're knocking on the door of it, but performances like that from both of them make it realise. You can see him tapping into the engine. I think he's kind of just got a V10 there, and he's saying, thank you very much, Rowdy. Thank you for your support. Great job by the Ukrainian driver.
And you're right, in terms of Laurens Leclerc's efforts, we shouldn't ignore those because it was a great job in that first stint. Right, let's go to the pits. Alex Legui is surrounded by happy drivers. The first two are Kelvin van der Linde and Charles Weerts, your race winners.
My word, these boys, the winners of our race 2 here in Zandvoort, and what a win that was. Where to start? First of all, that pit stop was absolutely insane. Did you know that that was going to be the real pivot for you guys?
Well, we know with WRT they're always so fast, and we know it always somehow puts us back in the game. We knew it was going to be close on the pit exit, but we were hoping obviously to get this first place, but we never know, because even though we have the best guys, the rest of the paddock also improved massively, as we could see yesterday, so it was not sure that we would come out in the first place, but we did. So Kevin did an amazing job. We really maximized the package we had this weekend, so 5th from 90 on the grid yesterday, and today first place after 9 on the grid is something we can be very happy about. It's my mother's birthday today also, so gelukkig verjaardag, mama.
Happy birthday indeed. Well, she'll be very pleased to be celebrating in this way. Kelvin, yeah, talk us through that first stint, and also what a great pairing you boys have turned out to be, huh?
Yeah, it's really a pleasure being back with Charles. Obviously in the Audi days we shared the cockpit, and now the reunion, and it's been really the perfect start, I think, leading the championship overall. So really, really proud of the whole team. To be honest, this weekend we haven't been on pace, and so it's even sweeter when you get to win at the end. So, yeah.
Mega job, well done.
Right, if you think that was a mega job, you think they're happy, you wait till you hear from Ivan Klimenko as the winner of silver with Laurens Leclerc. But for the outright win for the Pro Cup, it is Charles Weerts and Kelvin van der Linde. Whenever you look at the WRT headquarters, there are winners' trophies, and that's another one they've got to find space for. Right, let's go back to the pit lane then. Laurens Leclerc and Ivan Klimenko win in silver. This should be quite an interview with an outstandingly good drive for Ivan Klimenko.
Gents, silver, P2 overall, my word, and I think you might be driver of the day.
Oh, well, thanks to, first of all, Laurens for the good qualifying, pole position in silver, P5 overall, which bring us to good start. We managed it to the pit stop, we make a good driver change, make undercut, P2 on the track, and then we finish, just easy.
Well, it's very simple. Laurens, how was it for you?
Oh, for me it was quite difficult also, because we know that there is a lot of pro drivers. It's really difficult also for me in the second year. Last year I was struggling a lot, and this year I'm performing with Ivan. He did a really strong race, and I'm so happy I don't have the walls.
Again, such a great pairing. Well done, boys.
Thank you.
Much deserved.
Thank you.
Most certainly was. Ivan Klimenko, Laurens Leclerc are then the silver winners, and more proof, if you ever wanted it, that Audi R8 is still a competitive car, run by the right team and with the right people behind the wheel. But a really impressive effort. Second place overall, as well as a silver win. Chris Lallam and Thierry Vermeulen win gold, but that is a race that really could have offered so much more. Their emotions might be a bit mixed.
Chris and Thierry, not the easiest of race for you guys. Chris, just talk us through. You had the penalty, you lost a wing mirror. It was a very tricky first stint, wasn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. It's I mean, it's a shame about the penalty to put us so far back in the overall standings, but I guess it's some consolation where we are in the gold standings so far.
And some consolation, Thierry, for the fact that you are at least on the top step for your class here and your home race.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, we are P1 in gold, I think. Chris has been extremely fast. I mean, mega qualifying, so really impressive. We just have to fine-tune together the small things. Also, I mean, Q1 was not good enough for my side, and yeah, hopefully next time we come back here, we definitely want to do better.
I hope so. Much needed points, though. Well done, boys.
Next stop for the Monza, different car, because in the Endurance Cup, they ran the 2Cs Motorsport prepared Aston Martin, Harry King, third driver. And you've got the two endurance events, Monza and then the CrowdStrike 24 Hours of Spa back-to-back. Next Sprint Cup event will be Misano, third weekend of July. So, gold win for the Ferrari drivers. There's a bronze win for Ferrari drivers as well. They are from Kessel Racing, though, and they are Dustin Blattner and Dennis Marshall, and they are in the company of Alex Legui.
Dennis, Dustin, I mean, it looked like an easy class win to me. Talk us through it from your perspective.
To me, I think Dustin did the major job. I must say he gave me the car with quite a good lead, and in the end I just had to manage a bit. However, Roger and the McLaren was quite quick in P2 and was catching quite a bit. So yeah, in the end it wasn't that easy that we could chill a lot. So, but yeah, we brought it home. Happy for the points, happy for the team, and yeah, good day.
Nice and neat. Considering you started in the thick of it as well, it could have been much, much more dramatic, couldn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I think due to the fact that it was a clean start helped a lot, and just managing the pace and finding opportunistic moments to let the faster traffic through if there was. Yeah, I think it helped a lot.
Well done. Enjoy your podium.
The point that Dustin Blattner makes an interesting one about how you have to address your own race, let the faster traffic go, but equally you don't want to let so many cars go by that you then become easy prey to the class opposition. So it's always this balancing act, but balanced well, it would seem, today. The Kessel Racing Ferrari of Dustin Blattner and Dennis Marshall. As we said during the race, they've been together now as a partnership for 2 seasons, or a season and a half, second season together, so they know what to expect from each other, and the Kessel Racing Ferrari superseding the Rutronic Racing Porsche they had last year seems to have been a good choice. So let's look at the results. Charles Weerts, the race winner, with the opening stint done by Kelvin van der Linde from Lawrence de Courtois and Ivan Klimenko. Luca Engschler and Jordan Pepper third, ahead of Marvin Kirchhoff and Benji Goethe. Patrick Niederhauser and Sven Muller coming home fifth, and then sixth Alex Arca and Ezequiel Perez Compang. Outside that top 6, you go to 13 to find your winning Gold Cup entry, Thierry Vermeulen and Chris Lullen. And a little bit further back after that, the number 74 Ferrari coming home 22nd to win bronze, Dennis Marshall and Dustin Blattner. Arthur Rougier doing the fastest lap of the race, and only, relatively speaking, 2 non-finishers. There was an awful lot going on in the race, but it was nowhere near as frenetic and as destructive as yesterday. And 21st, just to make the point, the Ford Mustang, Yusuf Vega and Romain Andriolo, a car that didn't get anywhere other than turn 3 yesterday after damage. The Corvette likewise 23rd today. So some of the teams turning their weekends around. Bad news though for Arthur Leclerc with that breakage that put him out of the race early on. Winning drivers then making their way now up onto the podium. There you can see the third placed crew, Jordan Pepper, Luca Engschler for second place now. Up come Ivan Klimenko and Lawrence de Courtois. WRT is the winning team. It, therefore, is represented on the podium. And the biggest cheer of all, no doubt, will go the way of our winning drivers. For Kelvin van der Linde and Charles Weerts, the podium awaits. Sprint Cup win 17 for Charles, a maiden win for Kelvin van der Linde, who's been part of the WRT squad in the past in Endurance Cup races, but a very impressive drive by both. And the national anthem comes next of the winning team. So a very happy Kelvin van der Linde. His brother Sheldon van der Linde will be part of the WRT assault as well, with Dries van Thor for the CrowdStrike 24 Hours of Spa. Steve Rouse from Pirelli comes to the podium to give the trophies, first of all, then to the third placed crew, Jordan Pepper, Luca Engschler, then to the very happy Lawrence de Courtois and Ivan Klimenko. Santilok Audi drivers, WRT gets the team's trophy, and then Charles Weerts and Kelvin van der Linde will take the race winners' trophies at the end of a mighty effort. And as much of that was down to the drivers as it was the pit crew, turning that car around so impressively. So in the sprint overall classification, Kelvin van der Linde and Charles Weerts just ahead by 4.5 points of Sven Muller and Patrick Niederhauser, the winners this weekend. We've had, of course, 4 different winning combinations out of the first 4 Sprint Cup races, illustrative of how competitive the championship is this year. The champagne sprayed on the podium, and of course, within that podium, you've got the winning silver, as well as the top 2 out of Pro. A great effort done by Charles Weerts and Kelvin van der Linde. Let's look at the highlights then of the second race of the weekend. Ben Green and Chris Lulham powering away from the front row of the grid, but in the case of Ben Green getting a penalty for a jump start, Chris Lulham getting a penalty for a out of position start. The Ferraris ran together with Jordan Pepper's Lamborghini right there behind them as well, as they squabbled their way through the opening stint of the race. Oh so briefly, Jordan Pepper did get himself up into second place, but not for long. Chris Lulham having to cope with losing the mirror on that opening lap of the race. Louis Pret went off the road on the first lap as well, but fought his way back into the mix as Lawrence de Quertua found a way past a struggling Arthur Leclerc, a bit of breakage that put the car wide, and that would retire a lap later. Pepper got second, not for long. A real dive by Chris Lulham back up the inside, and he was able to hang on to the pace to the pit stops. But then the Emil Frey racing cars, with the penalties needing to be taken, dropped back, and it was the Team WRT BMW with a much faster pit stop than anybody else's that came out ahead of the Luca Engschler Lamborghini. But that couldn't quite clear Ivan Klimenko's Audi. That was leading silver and ran second overall to the very end, as Max Janssen squabbled with Alex Archer for second in silver, and Lucas Auer, also with a penalty, was busy battling with Patrick Niederhauser's Porsche. On the road, he stayed ahead, as off the road went Gilles Magnus. There was plenty of drama in bronze, even on the penultimate lap, as Dylan Pereira got turned around and ended his race in the gravel down at the chicane. But untroubled, Charles Weerts and Kelvin van der Linde came through to score honours in race 2 in GT World Challenge Europe Sprint Cup here at Zandvoort, at the end of a great weekend of racing. So there you have the drivers on the podium in bronze, the top step claimed by Dennis Marshall and Dustin Blattner. So for Kessel Racing, the national anthem plays. Dennis Marshall, Dustin Blattner the winners, but the third place trophies go the way of Gabriele Piana and Rinat Salikov, the Winward Racing Mercedes drivers. Then you have Arthur Rouchier and Isaac Tutumlu, whose father is a very proficient football manager, football agent, I should say, in Turkey. The winning team is Kessel Racing, and the winners' trophies will head the way of Dennis Marshall and Dustin Blattner. Steve Rouse from Pirelli, with his back to you, has the trophies in hand, hands them to Dustin, hands them to Dennis, and 2 happy drivers on that top step of the podium. Everybody then will get together for the photos, one hopes, but already with the champagne is Isaac Tutumlu, very happy indeed. Another experienced GT racer, but having a really good result this weekend. And Arthur Rougier, who was outstanding in his stint doing the fastest lap of the race, comes through victorious. Dennis Marshall, Dustin Blattner come out on top. And the Kessel Racing Ferrari, third yesterday after a spin and a puncture, contact on the opening lap. Rebuilt its race yesterday, goes even better today. Dustin Blattner having done a lot of miles in a pretty short space of time, and once again doing an excellent job coming out on top. So the drivers make their way down the steps away from the podium, which in turn is made ready for the silvers and the golds. Gold won by Thierry Vermeulen and Chris Lulham, and silver by Ivan Klimenko and Lawrence Leclerc taking that outstanding second place overall. You can see all the teams ready to cheer their drivers in the pit lane. The cars coming towards the pitch shortly for the GB3 Championship race, the British-based single-seater series here this weekend. So the marshals there making sure there is access down the pit lane for cars to make their way to where they need to be. And so as the winning drivers in the classes make their way to the podium, there you have in silver Maxim Osten and Max Janssen taking third. Alex Arca, Ezekiel Perez-Companc coming through for second place. Not a terribly happy looking Alex Arca. And then the top step will go the way of the Santilok drivers, Ivan Klimenko and Lawrence Leclerc. They've already been on the podium once for second overall, but now as category winners, even bigger smiles as the Ukrainian and French drivers step forward and congratulate their opponents, Max Janssen, Maxime Osten, Alex Arca, Ezekiel Perez-Companc, and the French Santilok team comes out on top in the Silver Cup. Trophies to be presented. Eric Weijers of the Circuit Park Zandvoort then has the trophies in hand, and they go to the Dutch drivers, Max Janssen and Maxime Osten. First of all, there Ezekiel Perez-Companc and a very, very downcast Alex Arca taking second. Alex Arca, I think, maybe was hoping for more, but that Santilok Audi was just untouchable, given that it was protected, if you like, by the Pro Cup cars behind it. And there are the winners. The trophies aloft. Lawrence Leclerc and Ivan Klimenko victorious at the end of a truly remarkable race for both of them. But that stint by Klimenko, one is tempted to say, was the better, just because of the amount of pressure he was under from those pro and factory-paid drivers. Champagne awaits. Ezekiel Perez-Companc has gone. This is where Alex Arca gets revenge and just aims it at anybody he can find. Job done. Have a swig. That'll do me, he says. Alex Arca, very, very rapid driver indeed. And Ivan Klimenko savouring the moment. Let's have a look at how we stand in silver. There's half a point in it between Cesar Gazo and Aurelien Panis, who had a win at Brands Hatch. Then Alex Arca and Ezekiel Perez-Companc, who won yesterday here. And then another point back, Ivan Klimenko and Lawrence Leclerc. It is so, so tight. Max Janssen and Maxime Osten are fourth, Jeff Machils and Marcus Siebert, Kobe Pavels and Jamie Day rounding out the top six. So you get the feeling that silver competition is just going to be one of the most intense of the year, given the tiny, tiny margins already and the great spread of victors that we've had. And that, therefore, leaves us with one more podium, and that is in gold, where the drivers will step forward shortly, headed by Thierry Vermeulen and Chris Lallam. There'll be Leonardo Moncini and Sebastian Ogard for second, Al-Faisal Al-Zubar, Jens Klingman for third. And the final set of trophies being prepared. Fastest lap, in fact, in gold, went the way of Gilles Magnus in his stint towards the end. But fourth, the Audi was, after that bit of rough and tumble with these drivers, Al-Faisal Al-Zubar and Jens Klingman, who stepped forward for third place. Al-Faisal Al-Zubar in the driving force of the Almanar Racing part of the entry. WRT operates the car. Then Leonardo Moncini and Sebastian Ogard come through for second in class in another of the Tresor Attempto Audis. And then the small consolation after a frustrating hour of the race for the Emil Frey Racing team is a Gold Cup win. And from second on the grid, it's only a class win rather than an overall result. And that says it all, doesn't it? The way that Chris Lallam comes onto the podium. Congratulates the drivers they've beaten to the category win. But for Chris Lallam and Thierry Vermeulen, that's the one that got away. The Emil Frey Racing team had both of its cars on the front row of the grid. And in the final analysis, it was not the result they wanted at all, because for the car of Thierry Vermeulen and Chris Lallam, it was 13th. For the pole car of Conor Lapperline and Ben Green, it was only 11th. But it is points in the Gold Cup, as you heard Alex say to them after the race. And the Emil Frey Racing team take the Gold Cup win, at least. The trophies to Thierry Vermeulen, the Dutch driver, to Chris Lallam. Very, very frustrated. You can tell off his face, his expression, for a result that got away. But Thierry Vermeulen poses for the cameras, and there the Gold Cup drivers celebrate here at Zandvoort. So the champagne awaits. Chris Lallam not in the mood. You get the feeling he's gone. And Al-Faisal Al-Zubar, Jens Klingman hand the champagne to the team. So Thierry Vermeulen is left to play with the champagne fight against Sebastian Ugard and Leonardo Moncini. Chris Lallam and Thierry Vermeulen are well clear in the championship in the Gold Cup from Jens Klingman and Al-Faisal Al-Zubar. Gilles Magnus and Paul Everard come next, ahead of Sebastian Ugard and Leonardo Moncini. Fourth from Louis Pret and Adam Smalley. With our next action in GT World Challenge Europe being in 2 weeks' time at Monza, we're back to the Endurance Cup. Totally different feel, totally different type of racing, but the action will be just as good.